Good afternoon. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. My name is Larry Clay and I'll be chairing today's session. Panel members today are Katie Plazer, Gary McKay, and Dylan Reed. And our Deputy Secretary Treasurer today is Sabrina Salatino. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid in-person and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submissions in person, and others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. For those participating virtually, when your item is called, you'll be unmuted by the moderator. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with written submission deadline. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision on an application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal committees' decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons and public bodies are permitted to appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Today, I'll call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is contested, the agent or applicant will proceed with their presentation. When an application is uncontested, the committee may not require a presentation. The committee may ask questions and/or take matter into committee for a decision. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept new materials at the hearing. The applicant or agent will proceed first and make a presentation, then individuals either in support or oppose the application will be invited to speak. Generally, we call first on speakers in the hearing room and then those participating through WebEx. Each speaker, including the applicant, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I'll comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. When all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent has an opportunity to rebut those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion and the application will be taken into committee for a decision. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, are there any deferral requests this afternoon?
Through you, Mr. Chair, see none.
Okay, no files to be closed.
Through you, Mr. Chair, see none.
And any declaration of interest for the afternoon session? See none. Okay, we can proceed. We will begin with item number 17, A, B, and C. 293 Oakwood Avenue. This is an application to obtain consent to create new easements and rights of way for parts 3 and 4 in a previous consent decision. The purpose of the application is to construct a new 3-story semi-detached houseplex with a rear basement walkout with stairs, a covered front porch, rear exterior staircase with landings to access each story. Also to construct a new 2-story detached ancillary building containing a dwelling unit, a garden suite. There will be a total of 5 residential dwelling units on this lot. Previous minor variance decisions approved a new 3-story semi-detached fourplex, reviewed as an apartment building with a total of 4 dwelling units on the lot. These minor variance applications are necessitated to reflect applicable variances for the 3-story semi-detached building, and a total of 5 dwelling units on the lot, and to include variances for a new garden suite not previously proposed. Committee has before a copy of the plan, draft R plan of survey, copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 6 photographs of trees on the subject property, a covering letter from the agent, previous decision numbers affecting the subject property. We have an email correspondence from the agent and a tree protection plan and a planning rationale from the agent. We have staff reports from engineering and urban forestry.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent here in person and no registered speakers.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair.
Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Ian Flett. Address is 99 Yorkville Avenue, Suite 200.
Okay, we don't have anyone speaking on this item, but it is a bit of a complicated history, and I wonder if we could ask you to kind of walk us through where it's been and where you're at now.
Sure. The best approach is probably to give you a snapshot of where we are now, and maybe I'll read through my comments just introducing the concept and where we're coming from.
Sure.
The application before you would permit 2 semi-detached fourplex buildings, together with a pair of garden suites at the rear, and the result is 10 rental dwellings on Oakwood Avenue in a compact low-rise form on a major street in an area that is well served by transit. I'll say only this about the previous approval. The committee has already accepted the principle of semi-detached fourplex buildings on these lands. Since that time, the zoning framework has changed, and the proposal has also evolved to include garden suites. So that's the introduction, that's the change in this case. The main buildings remain within a very similar envelope, and in some respects, the proposal is reduced. The building height, this is of the fourplex, is lower than previously approved, and the building length is shorter. What has changed is that the buildings are now properly treated as semi-detached houseplexes. You may remember that at the previously they would have been thought of as an apartment building, and the owner is adding garden suites. As you know, sir, and members of the committee, garden suites are no longer exotic or exceptional in this city. They are part of the city's current housing toolkit. They expand the range of building types and neighborhoods. The planning rationale, in my humble submission, is straightforward. First, the proposal maintains the intent of the official plan. This is a neighborhood site, but it is also on Oakwood Avenue, a major street. And the policy direction is not to freeze these properties in their existing condition. It is to allow gentle intensification, additional housing choice, and a broader range of low-rise residential building types. Second, the proposal maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw. The variances are about performance standards, front setback, which we're proposing to align better with the overall street on Oakwood, height, side yard, garden suite setback within the facing lots, separation, and related standards. The fourplexes and garden suites are permitted in compatible housing forms, as this committee knows well. Third, the variances are minor. I do not put that in numerical terms. The more important point is impact. The front setback aligns the buildings with the existing and emerging street condition on Oakwood. The houseplex height is lower than the earlier approval and below the scale contemplated for other residential forms in major streets. The garden suite variances are internalized to the site to a significant degree with no rear-facing second-story windows in compliant outer side yard setbacks. And in respect of the rear-facing property on Rabina, you'll notice if you looked at the satellite picture, there's a garage. This would essentially be a budding where there's a garage in the neighboring lot. Finally, the proposal is desirable. It replaces an underutilized condition with purpose-built rental housing. You will notice the existing site currently is remarkably paved, and in this case, we're proposing permeable walkways in the landscape areas and new tree planting. There's no opposition before you from city staff. Engineering and construction services has not objected, but it is not, and urban forestry has identified conditions, but is not recommending refusal or deferral. And importantly, I understand there's no neighbor opposition before the committee. I do want to address one condition proposed by ECS. We are asking that the waste storage condition be amended because as drafted, the condition refers to a waste storage area for each single family unit with dimensions of 3 meters by 1 meter. I suspect this may have been a boilerplate condition because applied literally to 5 units on each lot, that would require a disproportionate amount of storage area. The owner proposes an amendment that still gives solid waste management say on the final outcome, and I can either read my proposal to you or deal with it in questions. That amendment preserves the city's control over the final waste solution, but avoids imposing a single family unit standard in a way that is not proportionate to this form of housing. In closing, members of the committee, this is precisely the kind of incremental housing the city is asking applicants to bring forward: rental units, family-sized units, garden suites, and low-rise intensification on a transit-served major street. The variances are technical and site-specific, and for those reasons, we respectfully ask the committee to approve the minor variances subject to the staff conditions with the requested amendment to the ECS waste storage condition.
Thank you, Mr. Flett. Let's deal with the waste now. Can we just, so I know the engineering's asking for a 3 meter by 1 meter with a 1.5 meter height for each unit, which seems a lot. So what are you proposing as an alternative?
So the language that we would propose is that the owner shall provide waste and recycling storage on private property in a configuration satisfactory to solid waste management, which may be provided as shared waste storage for the dwelling units on each lot, with the final dimensions and location to be shown on the permit drawings to the satisfaction of solid waste management.
Okay, so you're basically saying we don't know what it's going to be, but we'll work with solid waste and we'll come up with a solution.
That's right. We're not asking for complete agency to do whatever we want here, but the imposition of this condition would be very problematic. It would be 15 meters square.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Per lot.
A lot of garbage.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think one of the, not to push it even further, but because there's reference to a garage, and ECS would have known that there's no garage in this case, I suspect that's why I make the suggestion that maybe this is boilerplate language. It's not a criticism of ECS. This is just what comes up when it's time to draft these conditions.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Questions? Dylan. You're muted, sir. Dylan, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I'm just looking at the conditions. One of the conditions in the engineering is that the garden suite be 6 meters, not 6.3 meters.
I have with me the planner for the file, Mr. Chan, and he's got a deep technical understanding. Can you address that?
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Flynn. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
For the record, sorry, Christian, name and address.
Oh, Christian Chan, Suite 138, 157 Adelaide Street, West Toronto, Ontario.
Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. With respect to the maximum height of 6 meters, I discussed this with Anna Maria Luciani at ECS, and it seemed to be that it was, in fact, Toronto Fire that noted that condition, and then she also mentioned to me that that was an error and that the 6.3 meter comment would be rescinded, but it hasn't been on the staff report here. But I'm aware.
So that's another change we should make to those conditions if we approve this.
That would be appropriate. Yes.
Yes, and I made Ms. Luciani aware of the bylaw amendment in June of 2025 regarding the garden suite monitoring bylaw amendment that permitted the height up to 6.3 meters.
Right. Okay, so as well as the previous adjustment, we should make the adjustment of eliminating that condition.
That's correct. Thank you very much, sir, for raising that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we would just not include that condition if committee approves it because the variance speaks to 6.3 meters in height.
Yeah, so we just won't include that. Okay.
Okay, anyone else? I'm just going to beg your indulgence for a moment. I seem to be on a bit of a thing today, and it's about single exit stairs. And this application, and I know your client, this is sort of the standard application, which has the stairs in the rear, fire escapey kind of stairs. And I appreciate that. I'm assuming that that's building code, and that's the reason why they're there, right?
Correct, sir.
That's yes. Has your client had any discussions with the city about single exit stairs issue? I mean, you can make a pitch to the city that has an alternative for access to units that don't involve exterior stairs. It's kind of it's in the piloty stage. It's on a case-by-case basis and everything else. But I'm just wondering whether it's something. I find when I particularly look at the south elevation, I look at that and I see the stairs. They are they do present a visual impact on the neighbors. And while there's no opposition here, and I'm not uncomfortable with this application, I'm just wondering whether your client or Christian, you guys have had or are planning to have any discussions about whether there's alternatives to those exterior stairs, which I think would, over the longer term, be a little bit more amenable to the neighbors. And, you know, you've seen a lot of opposition in the past on these kinds of applications. And part of it is, you know, that image in the backyard, that exposure in the backyard. So I'm not saying you have to do it. I'm just wondering whether it's something that is worthwhile exploring. And it may be that the city may resolve its concerns about that and actually change some of the rules. But in the interim, I'm just wondering whether that's something that your client has shown any interest in pursuing.
Sir, what I would say is that I think this is a great forum for that kind of advisement to come to me through my client. And Mr. Chan has many of those deep technical conversations with the city.
For sure.
So I'm sure to turn to Mr. Chan to illuminate that question.
Yes, Mr. Chair, it's definitely a discussion on the nature of these rear exit stairs has been consistent amongst these types of proposals.
Yeah.
There is an active effort, I know, amongst many designers as well as my clients to communicate with the province on this issue of the single exit stairs. I do realize that there is also an initiative from the ministry regarding changing the Ontario Building Code to require a single exit stairs, obviously subject to certain fire and exit requirements.
Right.
One of the things that I have experienced on multiple occasions with these files as well is mitigating what the impact of these stairs, even though they're as of right, there's no variances required for them typically. I think I've been to the committee and only had variances for these rear exit stairs once.
Right.
And what I have heard in the feedback received, especially from the Committee of Adjustment members, and they're the ones, and your colleagues are the ones that have, in fact, recommended some interventions, particularly Mr. Nipfel, on many of these applications up in North York has said implementation of not privacy screening, opaque privacy screening, because that would, in fact, increase the impact.
Makes it worse, right?
However, plant trellises on the sides, both interfering with views. These rear staircases aren't meant to be places for congregation. They're just small platforms. But just in terms of breaking up the mass of it, plant trellises have been imposed as conditions for these particular elements on the stair.
Yeah, I'm not sure we need to impose a condition. It sounds like you are aware of the issue and your client is probably, I mean, it's a self-motivator to do that kind of stuff, right? Because you reduce the anxiety that sometimes accompanies these sorts of applications. So, but again, I'm just hopeful that some of those changes might actually be brought forward so that, you know, you can still have the same footprint that I think your client has been successful with, you know, but also doesn't necessarily require those stairs, particularly when there's a garden suite, because, you know, the actual space of open space between the garden suite and the structure is pretty minimal, right?
And one thing that's attempted to and actually been under construction for these rear exit stairs is to make them as porous as possible as well, to continue to allow water and snow infiltration to the ground below, and also to limit the physical or the visual impact. And
they're just access. I take your point that there's, you know, people aren't going to be setting up lawn chairs on them, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I'm good with that. Any other questions, guys?
Just a couple of, so my understanding, just to make sure I got this straight, is that there is a rear landscaping variance for one but not the other, and that's because one of them is actually a narrower lot and requires less. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, sir.
Okay, and then the other one is almost that narrow, and if it was only slightly narrower, it would have a much smaller variance. Is that correct?
That's exactly right.
Okay, yeah, I think so. Normally we are concerned about rear yard landscaping, but I think given those circumstances, you know, these are reasonable requests. And then did I understand correctly that you've actually increased the side yard setback on the south side, I assume for access to the garden suites?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what is the side yard setback now at the south side?
1.2, sir.
It's 1.2, okay.
From 1.12, yeah.
1.12, okay, got it. Okay, great, thanks. That's all I wanted to ask.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Nothing else? Okay, let's go into committee.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Dylan, you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is I like this, and I feel like it's a improvement. There's definitely space for garden suites. I like that the garden suites themselves are semi-detached. I feel it's a very efficient use of space. I feel like, you know, they've improved the side yard setback. They've slightly lower height. The impact of this building will be minimal, which I think is reflected in the fact that we didn't have any opposition. So I'm more than happy to, and like I said, the landscaping I think is, you know, is not as significant as it looks because of the size of the lots. So I'm happy to move approval if anyone, if that's okay, unless anyone else wants to comment.
Anyone have any comments?
I thought the presentation was very good, very helpful, supportive.
Okay, Dylan, why don't you make a motion then?
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve these variances and the consent, right?
Yes.
Yeah. With forestry condition number 3 for both of them, and with the engineering development conditions as modified.
So let's just be clear about what the modifications. We're removing one condition.
We're removing
Right,
the
which they don't
condition
need
about the height
anymore.
of the garden suite.
And I think
And
the
we're-
agent gave us some wording that we might want to use for the garbage.
And we'll be using the wording that the agent used for the garbage.
Do you have it, or would you like me to go to committee and have them repeat it?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think we'll simplify the wording.
Okay, but you got the gist of it.
We're just going to leave it to the satisfaction of solid waste management.
Okay, is that
Yeah.
okay with you guys?
Simple is always better, sir.
Okay. All right.
And then engineering had conditions for consent and minor variance, so that will be captured accordingly. Okay.
Okay. All right, motion by Mr. Reed to that effect. Do I have a seconder?
I would second
Mr.
that.
McKay, all in favor? You have your approval. Thank you. Okay, we move on to item number 18, 27 Frater Ave. This is an application to construct a new 3-story detached dwelling with an integral garage and a widened driveway, a front second-story covered porch with stairs, a rear second-story deck with stairs, and a rear first-story walkout. Committee has before a copy of the minutes from the April 1st public hearing and the materials submitted, copy of the revised site plan, survey, floor plans and elevations, and email correspondence from the agent, covering letter from the agent. We have email correspondence from community planning and transportation review, and staff report from urban forestry. We also have correspondence in support from 3 individuals, no address provided. We also have correspondence in opposition from 25 Frater Avenue.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have both the owner and agent here in person and 1 registered speaker in opposition, also in person.
Okay. All right, welcome. Good afternoon. Name and address, please.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Joshua Smith, 72 Durant Avenue, East York, Ontario.
And your colleague?
Nick Saccone, 103 Glenlong Avenue, Toronto, Ontario.
Okay, thank you very much. We have someone who wants to speak to this item, so we'll need a presentation, please.
Absolutely. Thank you. So to begin, we provide a bit of the history here. So we had requested a deferral for application during the April 1st COA, or Committee of Adjustment meeting, to allow us an opportunity to resolve concerns raised by forestry as well as community planning, and some of those raised by the neighbors in the week prior to the meeting. So central among those concerns was the location of a 6-centimeter sapling that had been planted in 2024 by the city. The plans were revised. The original plans would have required the transplantation of that sapling. However, in an effort to satisfy both the concerns of the neighbors as well as those of forestry, we reoriented the layout of the house to move the driveway from the east side of the property, the west side of the property, back to the east side where the current entrance resides. This effectively resolved forestry's concerns, which they've since posted onto the supporting documents, as well as some of the concerns raised by neighbors for that tree.
I'm just going to stop you there and stop the clock for a second. So just so I'm clear, we have a forestry report that recommends against approval.
That was the original recommendation.
May 15th
yes.
one. That's May 15th?
Oh, sorry.
We got a May 15th, 2026. Can we pull it up, guys? Is there a later one than that?
I believe there was one May 20th.
Through you, Mr. Chair, there's one
Right.
that was received on May 22nd.
Fair enough. Sorry. I was looking at the supplemental agenda, assuming that was the latest, but it's not. The latest is, you're right, is the May 20th?
May 22nd is when staff received it.
Yeah, it's dated May 20th, right? So,
Not
unclear
under our supplemental package.
Okay.
then it refers to an advisory report, which is in supplemental, which is recommending, which is the previous email. Is there another one? There's a previous email, which is,
So it's on the screen right now. So urban forestry is recommending.
so that's the one that's recommending refusal. And that's dated May 15th. There's a May 20th, which is just a report which kicks you to an advisory report from forestry, which we don't have.
We have a report from May 15th.
Yeah, that's the May 15th one.
But it doesn't require refusal, does it? It's just
the first thing, the first line says recommend against approval.
No, it says previously recommended against the approval.
And previous, okay.
And then, so the updated.
If I
is
could
now-
just
will now be
read,
fully
maybe I
preserved.
would be in better shape. My apologies.
Yeah.
I must admit, I just scanned it and I didn't see the word previously.
Not a
Did
problem at all.
I probably freaked you guys out a little bit. I'm
bit.
sorry for that.
I'm glad we sorted that out. So really the whole redesign of the house was to make sure that we did not in any way need to injure that tree.
Okay.
The driveway now enters from the current curb location. And so we effectively flipped the entire orientation of the house. One of the other concerns raised by neighbors was a potential impact to street parking, since street parking is only allowed on the south side. And so by doing this reorientation, it allowed us to preserve the exact same parking configuration that exists on the street. Further, the reorientation of the driveway was solved. There was essentially 4 windows that were going to be on the west side of the house. By reorienting the house to the new driveway position, those 4 windows, we're going to be looking into a neighbor's backyard in conversation with them. They had expressed privacy concerns, so as an act of trying to make sure that we satisfy their concerns, we eliminated 3 of the 4 windows to make sure that we kind of take into consideration the concerns of the neighbors. So a specific reference to the variances 1 and 2 are tied to the overall height, which was revised in response to guidance provided by community planning to ensure that we was in line with other builds in the area. So that was the superseded plans that was most recently posted on the supporting documentation. Variances 4, 7, and 8, those are related to the front yard setback and the resulting front yard landscaping. So the percentage increases in variance 7 and 8 are 4.1 and 3.2% respectively. This would have been mitigated by increasing the front yard setback. However, this would have taken the house off of the current line of the neighboring houses. So in an effort to maintain the uniformity of the area, we wanted to retain the same setback that the current structure sits at. Variances 3, 9, and 10 are significantly impacted from the basement floor being considered the first story. So because everything sits above grade effectively, with the garage not being a sloped down driveway, which we understand is something the city does not support at this time, the first story, the basement, is counted in the FSI. So once we account for that, it actually shows that it is in line a lot closer with the recommended bylaws. So I do want to just mention that careful consideration was given to the neighborhood character when we did put together our design, with the transitional style of design being more closely aligned with the character of the neighborhood. So we will continue to We'll continue to, I think we have to stay here, and we'll have an opportunity to hear Mr. Lowe speak.
Okay, great, thank you. I apologize again for the confusion. We have someone here, okay? Hi.
Hi, good afternoon.
Is the green light on?
Pardon?
The green light in front of you, is it on?
I can't hear you.
Sorry, is the green light in front of you on the microphone, is it on?
Yes, it is.
Okay, perfect. Name and address, sir.
Okay, my name's Ron Lowe. I live at 25 FRATER Avenue. And I'm not against rebuilding a bungalow into a three-story dwelling, but I'm basically against some of the height that Josh and Canyon Properties have proposed for this new development, because it's exceeding the current bylaw by 0.99 meters, which in my terms is like over 3 feet and about 3 feet 4 inches. And I'm just worried, like East York is a bungalow single family dwelling, and I'm just worried that if you approve this height to go up to, you know, what was it, to 9.49, the next developer on our street, because we have currently, I counted from the block of Binswood to Gleemount, 9 bungalows on the south side and 5 bungalows on the north side. And I'm just afraid that if you approve this standard or let Josh go up to 9.49, the next developer will ask for the same increase, and the next developer asks for the next same increase, which will escalate our East York community into not only a 3-story dwelling, but possibly 4-story, like we saw with the Oakwood thing with, you know, a 4-story building in basically old East York community. So that was my main concern of why we should stick to the bylaws and make sure that Josh and his company stick to the height bylaws and also the regulations. The other thing that I was a little concerned about is the drawing of the house. It's a double-door garage, and he's going back about 10.9 meters at the back, which is a lot in East York. You know, like I was talking to my neighbor, and when he rebuilt his house at 23 FRATER, he wanted to go back 10 feet, not 10.9 meters. And I think that's a little extreme, and that's a little big. Like, that's a perfect house, as I said in my letter, for the 905 region in Richmond Hill, Aurora, but not for a tiny lot size on East York. And the other thing is, because the back will be going back so far, I have a Norway maple tree that's at the back that might be hindered by that. Plus I have flowered gardens in the back with tulips. Irises are coming up now. Daffodil just finished. And I got hostas. I'm afraid that's going to hurt their growth. But the last thing I would like to mention is there's been 3 renovations beside me, 22 FRATER, 24 FRATER, and 23 FRATER. I haven't received any notices about bylaw zone variations and what do you call, like this letter. I've never received it from any of these builders. And, you know, they all built what I consider nice 3-story housing for families that fits the East York lot, fits the East York community, and it really complements the neighborhood. And all I'm asking is that Josh and Canyon Properties do the same. Put something that fits appropriately in the East York community, not something outrageous. And that's basically following the zoning bylaws. He has to do that. And like I said, the 3 houses around me, they've all been built. I haven't received any of the letters about minor variances, and they all are very nice homes. And I just don't see why they can't put a home like that on 27 Frater and fit that property line rather than going humongous.
All right. Thank you, sir. The one thing I will tell you before we move on, Committee of Adjustment decisions aren't precedent setting. They don't set precedent. So every case is treated individually and uniquely and on its own merits and own circumstances. So it's not like other legal cases where it does set precedent. We don't set precedent.
Well, I'm just afraid that I know, like these developers, they have very sharp lawyers, and once you set a standard once, the lawyer might come in and say, you did it once, you're going to have to let my guy do it again. That's all I'm saying.
I understand.
Okay?
Thank you very much, sir.
Right.
Okay, we'll have the agent back. Okay, over to you.
So out of respect for Ron, we did have a long conversation, and I do hope those conversations continue. So really our intention here is not to build something that's a monstrosity. To suggest that these houses are not being built in the area, we, with Nick, actually built our own house about 5 blocks west of this, which was really what got us into this path of wanting to build another house similar to our home. So this is only our second home that we're doing. However, it is consistent with a lot of other homes we have seen in the area. I did want to at least hopefully address the double car garage situation. It is not a double car, it's a 1.5, which is similar to the size of our current garage. In terms of the length that Mr. Lowe had raised, I do want to point out that we don't have a length variance as part of our variance list. We are within the range for that. I'm not sure there's anything else that my architect needs to weigh in on, or if there's anything specific that the committee would like us to comment on with regards to concerns you may have, but we feel like we did a thorough job of working with city planning, transportation, forestry to make sure that we were going to be satisfying those parties to build something that was in line with the area and in line with the development that's happening within East York area.
Okay, thank you, sir. Panel, any questions of the agent?
Just a quick one.
Good, Dylan?
Yeah, I mean, a 1.5 garage, and your driveway is quite wide. I'm just wondering why we need to have this wide driveway.
So the original intent of having the wider driveway was to allow 2 cars to park side by side so that it doesn't prevent someone from having to shuffle the cars in the morning. Similar to what we had done with our house. Okay. So that was really the intent behind having a slightly widened garage as you pass that pole.
So you're hoping to be able to put 2 cars on the driveway, but not in the actual garage.
Correct. Yes.
Understood.
And to be honest, I mean, we don't even use our garage. Our kids shoot hockey pucks in there, so the 2 cars are largely outside of our house.
You're not the only person who does that, that's for sure.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Gary. Gary, you're muted there. Okay, there you go.
Right. I was just saying, yes, transportation found that it didn't have an objection to the parking space width, so that's good to know there. And just in terms of the applicant, yeah, I didn't see any variance request for building depth. Is that correct? I think that's so.
Yes, that's correct. There was no variance for depth of the property.
Yes, Mr. Lowe was okay. Okay, thanks very much.
Okay, anyone else? Thank you very much, sir. Okay, let's go into committee.
Okay.
Anyone? Well, I'll take it. Actually, I thought this was quite a reasonable and attractive application. The applicant has done, I think, a pretty good job of trying to architecturally design something that is a little bit unique, a little bit different. And while that's not before us, I think that contributes to you know, the impact of massing. In this case, I don't see it as being a dramatic impact. I did tour around the neighborhood, you know, and had a look, and there aren't yet many 3 stories, but there are a lot of 2 stories, and this is technically, I guess, a 3-story, but really it's only a 2-story because the nature of the basement. Probably 2.5 stories, probably what would be more appropriately both. And, you know, there really isn't, you know, the height is 9.49, which is under 10, which in my view is relatively modest in any neighborhood in the city. There's no depth variance. I thought, you know, the front yard setback is quite reasonable. The landscaping is pretty darn close. It's just a little bit off, so I think it's pretty darn close to what the requirements are. I understand the neighbor's concern, and it's you know, the anxiety about you know, the propensity of these larger homes to you know, come to different neighborhoods, and particularly neighborhoods that are you know, dominated a lot by bungalows. That's a concern, but increasingly we're seeing neighborhoods and bungalows become not the target, but certainly of interest to purchasers who appreciate the neighborhood and simply want to put an extra story on their home, and I think that's quite reasonable. This application, I think it's a good application, and I appreciate the fact that the applicant has gone back and made the modifications to address the concerns of forestry and, you know, to the extent that possible, address the concerns of the neighborhood, and certainly have reached out and talked to the adjacent neighbor, tried to resolve those concerns. So I think that's commendable. So from my perspective, I think it's a supportable application. If no one else has any further comments, that I'll actually look to someone to do a motion then, if you agree with that. If you disagree, then you can put a motion otherwise.
I'll agree. I mean, I agree with what you're saying. The height is maybe higher than what's allowed, what's typically in the area, but it's not really that extreme. And it's kind of necessitated by having to raise up the first level. Also, I appreciated that they removed the side yard variance. I think that's actually significant improvement. So I'll move the motion if nobody else is feeling like it. And I don't think there's a forestry memo, but there's no conditions as far as I can see.
Let's just confirm that, because I got confused by forestry.
I have condition number 1.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Sorry, it's hard to keep track of.
Yeah, I was struggling with it as well.
So what's the latest?
Can you confirm? Is it condition 1?
I just have a memo. I don't have a listing of a forestry condition.
Yeah, let's just be clear about what.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I can get the presenter to present on the screen the memo that's dated May 22nd in the supplemental package, when staff received the memo, May 22nd. And it's the second.
It's in the supplemental. I only have.
If the application was approved, forestry recommended it be subject to condition number 1.
Really?
Know that there's updated plans.
I mean, it shouldn't be a problem.
I don't have a supplement. I only have.
It's on the screen.
I only have the. Okay.
That's the May 15th memo.
That's May 15th. I only have May 15th. I don't have anything.
I know.
later.
We use May 22nd because that's when staff actually received the memo and stamped it.
Okay,
but just to err on the side of caution, imposing condition number 1 wouldn't cause any issues.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not a problem, you'll clear it. No problem at all. Okay.
Okay.
You okay?
Okay. I just. Yeah, sure. I just don't see the forestry.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and trust Sabrina.
Yeah, sure. I don't think it's a problem.
Okay, motion by Mr. Reed to approve, subject to forestry number 1. I have a seconder. Mr. McKay, all in favor? That's approved unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Move on to item number 19, 17 Gilbert Ave. This is an application to legalize and maintain the existing rear one-story attached shed, which was constructed without an authorized building permit. Also to convert the existing basement level into a residential dwelling unit. There'll be a total of 2 residential dwelling units on this lot. Committee has before it a copy of the minutes of the April 29th meeting, copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevation, staff report from, I've never seen that department, adjacent construction review. Is that us? Okay. And correspondence and concern from 19 Gilbert.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, that's the Metrolinx staff report.
Oh, that's Metrolinx, okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers for this item.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is George Reguera. I'm the applicant from Studio Ray Architectural, 3496 Southwick Street, Mississauga, Ontario.
Okay, sir, I'm going to ask for a short presentation, and particularly because you've got an order to comply. Maybe you could take us through what you're proposing here.
Yes, unfortunately, my client go with a contractor, and that person build this shed attached to the house, and looks like, if you see the image in the site plan, as an extension of the house, but it's not. It's only just a shed attached to the existing house. This is it.
What are you trying to do?
I thought it was going to take a little longer time.
Oh, it's big. Sorry.
Sorry, man, I just got up to get a glass of water. Are
No,
you
no
finished?
problem. Yes. This is my explanation about what is the situation about this shed.
Okay, and so it's just legalizing that. So your next door neighbor wrote in and submitted some photos which implied that your shed is actually attached to theirs. Can you speak to that? They sent some photos saying you crossed the property line and your shed is attached to theirs.
For what I'm concerning, the pictures and the way that it's assembled, this structural is not attached to the shed, to his own fence, or the other side of the part of the fence. This is all about.
So you're saying just to be clear, you're saying it's not attached?
No, it's attached to the house. It's framed to the house.
Okay.
In an existing slab on grade.
Okay, so then the side yard setback so is your shed like right up against the property line? Is that which side is that?
It's 2.69
north
meters.
lot line? Your shed is right on the lot line?
If you take a look at the site plan, you can locate it. It's a notice that I made. It's pretty much, I want to say, just the minimum distance from the fence. This is the only thing that I can say, is because it's 1.5 meters. It's no reason to be attached to the fence, from what I see. Yes.
Okay, just hang on a second. Has anyone got a question for this guy? The agent?
Just quickly, would the agent be okay if we tie the approval to the site plan and elevations? Because we only want to approve the shed. We don't want to approve any additional building.
Well, we applied for a secondary unit also.
Yeah, you've got a secondary unit in the basement, right?
Yeah.
That's fine. I mean, that's in your plans, right? So it's not officially affected. The only all of the variances are related, I think, to the shed.
So, okay, are you done, Dylan?
Yeah, well, I was just wondering if that would be,
We can do that. I'll apologize in advance for what is possibly my misunderstanding. I'm having trouble understanding this. Your variance number 2 is seeking a variance of 0 meters from the lot. So you're right on the lot line, right?
Well, this is regarding about, I think, the middle line of the...
It's the midline.
Yeah.
So then I'm just going to pull up, let me pull up the site plan. This is the site plan. I'm looking at the basement excavation. So if you pull up, is there a site plan?
yeah, you just had it. It was just there. Yep.
I'm just looking for it.
Yeah, the geometry for the existing property is not the best.
Yeah, I get that. So I'm looking at the site plan. Oh. There's a better one. Okay, hang on a second. Yeah, so where it says the triangle number 10, that's the shed, right?
Yes,
So,
yes,
so
correct.
that's where your zero lot line or zero setback is, right? You said it's mid. You said,
Yeah.
I thought I heard you say it was midway along the house, but it's actually, that's your north lot line. So your shed is right on the lot line.
Yes, the same as the gazebo from the neighbor, the same distance. See, the neighbor has a gazebo on the other side. This is the...
And what you're saying is, I'm just trying to be abundantly clear. You're saying, she's saying you attached your roof to her gazebo roof, and you're saying it's not.
It's not. And,
Okay.
and unfortunately, I don't have any documentation to prove like if the neighbor at that time do the same thing.
Right to the lot line. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So...
Okay, I was just following up on her assertion that they were attached, and you're saying they're not attached.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a follow-up question on that. If we tie to site plan, would that require, let's say there is some confusion about where the attachment is happening, that would require that to be modified and corrected, yes? If it was tied to site plan?
It means that their shed roof would not be allowed to exceed over the lot line. Similarly, I guess the neighbor can't have their gazebo over the lot line.
So Dylan's suggestion would address this issue as well.
Yeah, I think it's a good suggestion, yeah.
Through you, Mr. Chair, and the variance reads to 0 meters to the lot line, so that actually helps it as well.
And encroachment isn't, yeah, okay.
Okay, any further questions? All right, we're in committee. Katie, you want to take it?
Sure. Thank you for all the clarifying questions. I wasn't quite able to understand the neighbor concerns based on that photo that was provided either, but I think we're getting somewhere. So, yeah, I think I would like to move a motion to approve, but with the condition of being tied to site plan.
All right, motion by Ms. Placer to...
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, and elevation plans, I think that's what...
Sure.
Yeah, certainly catch her the first floor plan, that's for sure. Yeah.
And maybe also just including the language around construction without permits.
For the record?
For the record, yeah.
I think there's also a Metrolinx clause for this one. There was a Metrolinx clause in the original.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's part of the deferred package, and yes, it was the warning clause.
Okay.
So we should include that.
Okay, motion by Ms. Placer with those conditions. You have a seconder? Mr. Reed, all in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you. All right, we move to item number 20. 81R Woodland Avenue East. This is an application to alter the existing two-story detached dwelling by constructing a second-story addition, enclosing the existing partially covered porch and open patio and habitable space. The committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 2 photographs of the subject property, covering letter from the agent, previous decision number affecting the subject property, and existing and proposed sun path diagrams. We have correspondence and support from 81 Woodland Avenue and from Mr. Lee, no address provided.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers for this item.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon. Mr. Fong.
Mr. Chair, good afternoon. I'm Stephen Fong, architect and agent for the client. If you would like, we could make a presentation on this. We think it's very simple, and the 2 sun path diagrams we sent, which are supplementary, show the massing of this addition. So the first one is the existing. It shows an existing covered porch and the balcony, and the second one shows the infill of that existing covered porch, as well as covering over the patio. We believe this is minor in nature. It essentially, we're asking for 1 variance, and that 1 variance gets us up to 0.72 FSI. We think that this is desirable. It actually reduces the oversight because it takes away the patio. We think this is within the intent of the bylaw. It's gentle intensification, and we believe it's within the intent of the official plan because this is essentially a de facto kind of garden suite that the city is promoting at this time.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions? The previous approval that you got partially enclosed as well, is that, if I'm looking at the sun diagram, is that portion with the roof on it?
Correct. The previous approval was for covering only where the covered porch was. And since then, our client has felt that increasing the size a little bit more for the interior creates a proper bedroom on the second floor.
Okay. All right, thank you. Panel, any questions? See none, let's go into committee. Looks pretty minor to me. Gary, what do you think?
Yes, I agree. It's just 1 variance for the FSI, and it's not that huge. So I'm prepared. I'll move approval of this application. I see no conditions.
Great. Motion by Mr. McKay to approve. I have a seconder. Ms. Placer, all in favor? You have your approval, sir. And thank you for the sun diagram. They were actually quite helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, my item number 21. 28 Hartford Avenue. This is an application to alter the existing 2-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a rear 1-story addition. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 11 photographs of trees on the subject property, covering letter from the agent, a tree protection plan, and we have a staff report from Urban Forestry.
All right.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers on file.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Smith.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Jay Smith, agent for the application. My address
Sorry,
is
sir, I'm going to interrupt you there. I can barely hear you, sir. If you can get a little closer to the microphone.
Yeah, how's that?
That's much better. Thank you.
Great. Jay Smith, agent for the application, 2493 Frankfield Road in Mississauga.
Okay, sir, it's a very straightforward application. I don't think we need a presentation. It's just FSI. Before we've read your application, we're familiar with the material. Before we take it into committee for a decision, is there anything you'd like to share with the panel?
No, we're fine with the forestry conditions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Okay, we're in committee. Very simple application. Katie, just want to move this one along?
Sure. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I see this application as having very desirable as well as minor impacts. I'll move to approve subject to urban forestry conditions 1 and 2.
Okay, motion by Ms. Plaitzer to approve, seconded by Mr. McKay. All in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you. We move on to item number 22, 331 to 333 Old Weston Road and 102 Ford Street. This is an application to legalize and maintain the existing 1.5-story detached dwelling known municipally as 333 Old Weston Road and to reconstruct the existing rear 1-story addition and side ground floor deck and stairs, which were constructed without an authorized building permit. Also to reconstruct the front porch stairs and to convert the basement into a second dwelling unit. The existing second residential building on this lot, known municipally as 102 Ford Street, and the existing place of worship known as 331 Old Weston Road will be maintained and unaltered. There'll be a total of 3 residential dwelling units on this lot, 2 within the residential building at 333 Old Weston, and 1 within the building located at 102 Ford. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, revised site plan, floor plans, and elevations received May the 4th, 5 photographs of the subject property, covering letters from the agent, presentation materials from the agent. In order to comply affecting the subject property, we have staff report from Metrolinx.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers on file.
Hey, thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. This is Navdeep Virdi from Nav Architects Inc. My address is 4299 Village Center Court, Mississauga, Ontario. And I'm the applicant.
You've got an order to comply, and it's actually a fairly complicated application, so I think we'd benefit from your presentation.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay, so this is the subject. This is the subject property, 333 Old Weston Road. On the north of it is 102 Ford, which is the second residential dwelling unit. On the right side of it is 331, which is the worship place, existing worship place. The whole site plan includes 3 buildings, 2 residential dwellings, and 1 assembly building. Could we please go to the next page? So the current owner had bought these properties in the years listed. So 102 was bought in 1987, 331 Old Weston Road was bought in 1979, and the subject property where we have the order to comply was bought in 1984. And since then, there were no changes proposed to this building. There wasn't a rear addition existing, which when the client tried to reconstruct because of the deteriorating condition, they found out that it was, so they got an order to comply on this rear addition, which is why we tried to legalize it. If we could go to the next slide, please. Could we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So you can see this addition is existing. There's been pictures from Google from 2007, 2009, 2012 that the addition has been existing for over 40 years. And we have the record search from city as well for which shows that the addition was existing. Could we go to the next slide, please? These are our variances which are related to the previously existed addition, which we're trying to now legalize. So first variance is the side yard setback for which allowed is 0.9 meter, and the proposed, which basically is existing, is 0.34 meters. Permitted maximum number of residential dwelling units on this lot, which are zone, is 1, but we have 2, so we're requesting a variance for that 1. Third variance is roof eaves, which may project So the proposed eaves are 0.19 meter. I cannot see the allowed. Here it's written here. My apologies for that. Lastly, the landscaping in the rear yard, which has also been existing. So if we could go to the next slide, please. So here you can see the green spaces which are shown. These are the only green spaces that have been existing. The hatched area shows the rear yard for the subject property. So allowed is 50%. We have 5.25% landscaping. So yes, 333 Old Weston. That the line, the dashed line shows where the rear yard starts, and the angled hatch shows the total rear yard. And that's how we've done the calculations. Those are basically the variances.
I understand.
If you have any questions, I'm there to answer those questions.
Yeah, I think if you can just be a little bit clearer for our purposes, you've referred to 333 and 102
Yes.
Ford Street as separate properties, and they were purchased separately. Yet the variance you're asking for is 2 residential dwellings on 1 lot. Is it a single lot or is it 2 separate lots? I'm not clear.
All 3 properties are on 1 lot. So we're not aware when they were amalgamated. That's the situation. We've tried to find with the record of the city, but we know from the record search when these properties were bought by the corporation that owns all 3 properties. My client only tried to do the reconstruction of the addition. When we started to do this work, we went for the survey and we figured out all 3 properties are actually on 1 lot, which is why we have this variance of existing 2 buildings, which have been existed forever. It's just that the work was never done on this property and the client never found out.
Well, it's just strange that 102 and 333 and 331 it's on the same lot, yet they were bought at separate times. I mean, I'm just
Correct.
wondering about how the legality of that would work. And I'm not sure how that would work. It just seems odd. I mean, it's 3 separate properties. It should be 3 parcels of land, shouldn't it?
Ideally, it should be, but that's how the situation is. When we had applied for record search for 331 Old Western, we found out, city said that they have no records. Later on, we decided to apply for record search for 331 Old Western, which is when we found an older site plan for 331 Old Western as well. Okay. That's the reason I gave the dates when my client bought these properties. Right. So they individually bought those houses.
I don't know how.
So my understanding is that sometimes it's the same owner purchases an adjacent lot, it automatically becomes a single lot. Because we've had some severances requests before where people had bought multiple properties together and kind of discovered that they had become all 1 lot. So I think it has something to do with that if the same owner purchases an adjacent lot, then those lots kind of get amalgamated somehow.
Yeah, unless there were lots on a registered plan of subdivision, for example, so it'd be different, but probably not here. But I find this quite confusing. So there are 3 dwelling units in this application?
There are 2 dwelling units and 1 assembly building. The subject property, we're trying to also build a secondary dwelling unit in the basement.
Oh, it's okay.
So does that make sense to you, Gary? Like, the properties are separate, yet it's a single title, yet they're actually separate.
They could be merged in title. It doesn't look like they're on a registered plan of subdivision. So if they decided to sell off a piece, they would need Planning Act consent. They'd need permission to sever. Yeah.
Right. I'm just confused how you can buy a separate property when it's not a separate property.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't a separate property when they bought it, but once they bought it, because it was owned by the same corporation. Gary, you can tell me if this is right. My understanding is that once they bought it, because it was the same owner, they became one lot. Is that correct, Gary?
Yeah, I would say, yes, I would say that, yeah. We're not dealing with land in a plan of subdivision. Yeah, I think I would agree with that, yeah.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it merges on title. So if they wanted to sell off any portion of the land, provided that it's identical from the time that they purchased the property, then it would come in as a technical severance.
Right, so you'd have to sever it if you wanted to do it.
Yes. Yeah, if she wants to sell a piece of it off. But
That is
very
the definitive answer. Thank you.
We
Okay.
also have the owner online, if anybody has questions for the owner too.
Anyone have any questions? Okay. I don't think we have any questions. Okay. All right, let's go into committee. Dylan, you seem to understand this one, so you take it.
It took me a while. I worked my way over this a few times before I could figure it out. Yeah, so my understanding is that because the owner bought an adjacent property under the same name, it became a single lot. And then that created this odd variance where they have to say that they have two different dwellings on one lot. So it's kind of a weird technical thing, and I think that it's perfectly reasonable. It also sounds like, honestly, they bought it and it had already had the addition, and they were just trying to rebuild the addition. So I see it as just a complicated, long-standing issue we're now trying to untangle, which I think is entirely reasonable. And the low rear landscaping, it feels to me like what's weird is that they're actually measuring the rear landscaping on the old lot, not the complete lot, which is quite, that's strange, but like I can see that, that lot has no space for rear landscaping, or that former lot. So I'm not really sure what's going on there, but I feel like they're trying to untangle a long-standing, complicated situation, and I'm more than willing to help out with that. So I move that we approve these variances. I think the variances are the result of this sort of complicated, long-standing situation, and I think we just need to add the Metrolinx clause as a condition.
Yeah, I just add, so I think that's partly why we're confused, is that if it's all one property, why is the landscaping different for each element of it? It should be a landscaping that applies to the entire property.
Absolutely. So I feel like that was something happened
weird.
in the
But okay,
zoning,
I mean, I assume that they.
But I don't think it's their fault, and I don't want to tangle them up in it.
Well, I'm going to assume that city staff have looked at this and haven't raised any the concerns that we're raising. So I think we'll just go with it. Okay, so you're moving approval?
Yeah, with the Metrolinx clause.
Okay, and the standard thing about building without a building permit, although I'm not sure it applies.
I don't think that's really needed.
Doesn't really apply much in this case.
No, exactly.
Okay. All right, motion by Mr. Reed to approve. Do I have a seconder? Mr. McKay, all in favor?
Okay.
You have your approval. Thank you. On to item number 23, 25 Montrose Avenue. This is an application to alter the existing 2.5-story detached dwelling by constructing a rear 3rd-story addition with a rear balcony, a rear ground floor deck with stairs, and a rear basement walkout on the south side of the dwelling. Also, to convert the basement into one residential dwelling unit. There will be a total of 2 residential dwelling units on this lot. The existing rear 1-story detached ancillary building will be maintained and unaltered. Committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 10 photographs of trees on the subject property.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent here in person and no registered speakers.
Platform.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Name and address, please, sir.
Jason Kiefer, 496 St. James Street, London, Ontario.
Okay, did you have to come in all the way for this?
I came in for this, yeah, and something else.
Okay,
Yeah.
because you've only got one very, very minor variance here.
Yes.
I don't think we need a presentation, but I almost feel like I should offer you the opportunity since you came in from so far.
Well, I'm okay if you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a quick question.
Okay, Dylan, go ahead.
Just from the photo, it looks like the construction's already started or well underway.
That's right. We did this in stages. First with an underpinning permit, and then a revision for the addition, and then the third stage is this variance for the rear balcony.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, fair enough. And I noticed you already have privacy screens planned.
Yes, we've shown one on the north and the south.
Great. Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions?
No, that's fine.
Okay, anything you'd like to add before we take it in for a decision?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, let's go into committee. This is really quite minor and very, very straightforward. Gary, what do you think?
Yes, just a balcony platform, not an issue. Okay, I'm prepared to move approval of this single variance then relating to this property on Montrose, and there are no conditions.
Right, okay, motion by Mr. McKay to approve, seconded by Mr. Reed, all in favor? You have your approval. Thanks for coming down.
Thank you.
I think we could have a short break before the last.
Sure, Gary, we'll take 5 minutes. Is that enough?
That'd be enough. That'd be great. Thank you.
Members, please turn off your videos and microphones.
Will do. Yep. Okay. Yeah, Okay. Okay, legs back. All right, so I need to get this third one. Yeah, in terms of okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay, members, let's begin.
Okay.
Okay, we resume with item number 24, 17 Rhodes Ave. This is an application to convert the existing place of worship, the Gospel Lighthouse Church, into a new daycare nursery and permit the day nursery use to occupy the full extent of the existing two-story detached building. Also, there will be 5 outdoor children playgrounds, 3 on the north side, 1 on the south, and 1 in the front yard of the lot. Committee has before a copy plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 4 photographs of trees on the subject property. We have email correspondence from community planning and presentation materials from the agent. There is email correspondence from transportation review, and there is late correspondence from transportation services dated yesterday. We have correspondence and concern from Allison, no address provided. Correspondence in opposition from 2 pieces from 37 Rhodes Avenue.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers on file.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chang.
Good afternoon,
How are you
Mr.
doing?
Chairman. I'm great. So,
Name and address for the record.
Yes. Aaron Chang, CM Partners Architects from Unit 201, 142 St. Helens Avenue.
Mr. Chang, did you see the correspondence from transportation dated yesterday?
I did, and we had a very quick call with the planning team of the City of Toronto yesterday, and the decision is to ask for a deferral today so that we can have more time to resolve the information with the city. So right. I think they are in support, but they just want to make sure that all the information we submit are inconsistent with the direction of the planning guidelines. So they just want to be sure that they can support it before we proceed. So I hope that you can grant us a deferral so we have more time to work on it.
Of course. That makes sense. We've read the transportation correspondence, and that seems to make some sense. So any panel, any questions of Mr. Chang? None. Thank you, sir. We'll take this into committee. The agent is seeking a deferral. I think that's appropriate in this instance, looking for more transportation studies to be done. Gary?
Chair, I'd move then that we defer this application to a further meeting of the Committee of Adjustment.
Okay, motion by Mr. McKay to defer. Do I have a seconder? Ms. Blaitzer, all in favor? Mr. Chang, you're deferred. Thank you very much. Okay, we move on to item number 25, which is 148 Margueretta Street. This is an application to alter the existing rear one-story detached one-car garage abutting the laneway by constructing a complete second-story addition to contain a laneway suite with a side dormer and a covered second-story balcony at the northwest corner. The second story of this ancillary building will be cantilevered on the east side. There'll be a total of 4 residential dwelling units on the lot, 3 in the main dwelling and 1 in the laneway suite. Committee has before a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 5 photographs of the subject property, and a covering letter from the agent with correspondence and support from 154 Margueretta Street.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent here in person and no registered speakers.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Deanne Mighton, and this is John Bird. We are both the agent and owners of this property, and we have been working on sort of upgrading this existing triplex for about 10 years when we purchased it in 2016.
Okay, just hang on a second. I have to call up your application here. Okay. All right. Panel, does anyone need a presentation? Would you like a short overview?
No.
Okay. Why don't we just walk us through your application, please?
Sure. As you mentioned, we have an existing dwelling with 3 units that was built in 1890. It has been a triplex for a long time. and there's an existing garage on property, which was had a roof upgrade in 2017. At that time, we went from a pitched roof to a flat roof, but did not change any of the walls or footings for that roof or for that garage structure. At the same time, the laneway suite guidelines were under development, and we had sort of constructed that base structure in a way that it could handle a vertical addition down the road. We are now coming in for the vertical addition on the existing garage. We are seeking 4 variances, 1 for soft landscaping, 1 for side yard setback, 1 for height, and 1 for width. We believe that these are sort of existing conditions based on the existing garage. Specifically, you know, the lot itself is the property itself is about a lot and a half. So it's quite generous. And the existing garage always occupied the full width of the property. The height, when we had done the earlier renovation in 2017, the laneway suite guidelines actually proposed a 6.5 meter height at that time. Subsequent zoning has come in, which is lower, but how we constructed the base condition was to meet the 6.5. So we have a 0.2 where we're requesting to construct a 0.2 meters height variation. And then the side yard setback from the lane, the requirement is 1 and the existing condition is 0.6 meters. Those are the existing footings. There is no proposed change at grade, so there's no change to the ground plane or the movements of any of the cars. We abut 2 lanes actually, 1 to the west and 1 to the north. So there's no changes to the ground plane movement in our proposal, and it's an existing condition. I'd also like to point out that the soft landscaping calculation does not take into consideration the generous sort of side yard soft landscaping we have on this site. You can see it on the north side, and that is all soft landscaping which handles stormwater runoff right now. In fact, when we bought the property, it only had 1 small cedar tree on it, and we have subsequently added a number of trees to the property, shade trees, birch trees, though we have always not added trees to the immediate back with the intention of adding the vertical addition to the garage.
Okay. Thank you. Dale, any questions? No questions. Okay, thank you very much. We'll take it into committee for a decision.
I'm happy to take this one on.
Sure, go ahead.
I love this design. It's on the existing footprint. It creates a fairly large space. It's got that cute little balcony, which I think is a really nice little touch. It's a little bit high, but it's actually more than 7.5 meters away from the main house. So I think that balances that. Also, the roofs are sloped. So even though those angles aren't really required anymore, it still provides some angles. So I think that mitigates the height as well. So really that's the most, the variation that stands out the most. The other things are basically sitting on the existing footprint. And I think that it's mitigated by the distance from the house and by the sloping roof. So I am more than happy to move approval of these variances, and I don't see any conditions.
Nope, no conditions. Okay. Motion by Mr. Reed to approve. Seconded by Mr. McKay. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you very much for coming down. Okay, move on to number 26, 12 Edgar Avenue. This is an application to alter the existing rear 1-story ancillary detached building, which is a 3-car garage, by constructing a complete 2nd-story addition and a 2-story addition on the north side of the building. The 2nd story will contain a studio area, bathroom, and storage space. The existing 3-story main detached dwelling and existing shed will be maintained and unaltered. This minor variance application is necessitated to include additional variances that were not identified in previous minor variance decision for this property, which approved an altered two-story detached ancillary building. Committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 7 photographs of trees on the subject property, covering letter from the agent, and previous decision numbers affecting the subject property. We have staff reports from urban forestry and community planning. There is correspondence and support from 20 Edgar Avenue.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers for this item.
Good afternoon. I'm Angela Stojanovic on behalf of Sustain Design Architects at 1724 Queen Street West, and we are the agent for the owner of the property.
Thank you, ma'am. This feels like it's just a couple little technical changes to a previous decision.
Yes, that's correct. When we applied for the building permit in March this year, it was discovered that one of the variances was omitted last year when we first applied for the committee. The variance number 2, that any building may not have more than 1 story, and in fact it has 2 stories because we're building on top of the existing garage. And also we were notified that the rules about calculating the floor area have changed in the meanwhile. So now we had to include the existing vinyl shed and the parking space in the existing garage in the floor calculation. But we didn't change anything in the design, so it's just the technical variance.
So when you got approval before, it was for a 2-story dwelling, but you didn't need a variance for 2-story?
No, the variance was just missed in the zoning notice.
Okay. But you did get approval for a 2-story?
Yes, the design was absolutely the same.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Panel, any questions? Dylan?
No, I was just going to.
Oh, sorry. Any questions? No. Okay, we're in committee. Now you can go, Dylan.
Yeah, I was on the panel that approved the previous version of this. Yeah, it's exactly the same as what we approved. It's just that they missed a variance and they've changed something else. So I think that we should approve it. Now there were some conditions. Yeah, so I guess we should renew the conditions that were in the previous approval, right? Planning and forestry have sent those. And then there was another one as well. So I'll add those conditions, forestry to the planning condition. And also we added the condition last time that the space not be used as habitable space.
Right. Okay. All right, motion by Mr. Reed to approve with those conditions. And the seconder, Mr. McKay, all in favor? You have your approval, ma'am. Thank you. Okay, item number 27 is 747 Broadview Avenue. This is an application to alter the existing 2-story semi-detached mixed-use building by constructing a complete 3rd-story addition with a mezzanine level above a rear portion of the 3rd story, a rear 2- and 3-story addition with front and rear 3rd-story decks above the 2nd floor, and a new ground floor covered entry. There will be 1 commercial unit, a gym occupying the basement, ground floor, and a portion of the 2nd story, and there will be 1 residential dwelling unit occupying a portion of the 2nd story and the entire 3rd story. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, revised site plan, floor plans, and elevations received May the 12th, 8 photographs of the exterior of the subject property, 14 photographs of the subject property, covering letter from the agent, 3D renderings of the proposal. We have staff report from Metrolinx and 10 form letters in support from some owners occupants of 314, 678, 737, 744, 745, 749, 750, and 752 Broadview, 39 and 40 Darwin Avenue, and 79 Withrow.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers for this item.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. My name is Luis Posada. I work with K.H. Davis Engineering Consultants. and I'm the agent for the owner of this property. Our address is 1468 Danforth Avenue.
Okay, hang on a sec, sir. Panel, does anyone need a presentation on this one? You want to go to questions? Nope, no one needs a presentation. Sir, I just have a bit of a question. Your application seeks to get a third-story addition, but from the renderings, it looks like there's 4 stories. Can you just confirm how many stories you've got? Like it looks like there's 4.
Yeah, it's so you see the back is a mezzanine on the 3rd floor. So the owners want to have like a loft kind of style for their new apartment. So that makes up for 20-foot high ceilings. So it looks like 4 floors, but it's actually 3 with a mezzanine.
Right, and as a consequence, you don't have a height variance. You're okay with the height then?
That's correct.
Okay.
Question.
Go ahead, Dylan.
I've got a question. So I just wasn't clear on the access. How are people accessing the residential unit versus the gym?
All right. So
there's the residential elevator in the middle right at the entrance. So I just wasn't quite sure how that was going to work.
Okay, so you can see on the floor plan, if you don't mind looking at the floor plan. The ground floor plan. Yeah. So from the main entry, from the Broadview, you enter the, currently there is a store there. So that's the store where the reception desk is. And from there, you go behind the elevator, enter the basement. So in the basement is the change rooms and the washrooms. And then you get out of the basement. So this is the way you go down to the basement and then up and cross now into the gym. So the other way, the other way is by the elevator. There will be doors for private use, but they can be just access for the clients to go straight to the gym as well. So there are two main ways of entry. This one is more open and this one is more private.
So both the residents and the gym patrons can come in the front door?
Yes, they both can come in the front door, and also there is a right-of-way where a gate is right here, and the residents, everybody can also use it for egress or access to the main building.
Okay, so basically the residents and the gym users will all be using the same entrances.
That's correct.
I see. Okay. It was just, I wasn't really clear, like there was a reception desk and, I wasn't really.
Yeah, and that's why these doors are here for more privacy in case that the owners just don't want access to the doors for the gym, but also in case of an emergency, they can open and they can run out through the main entry or to the egress by the right away.
And will the main entrance to the gym be the front door or the side door?
The main entrance to the gym is by the side door. Is this one?
By the side door. Okay.
Yeah. So because they want to go down to the change room,
right?
And organize and go up again.
So the residents will be more likely to be using the front door, and the gym.
The front door. Yeah. The
and
front
is that,
door
that front room, is that going to be part of the residence, or is that going to be?
On the ground floor is just a reception, but on the second floor is already a unit that the residents have.
Yeah, but on the ground floor, that space is.
It's all commercial. The ground floor is going to be all commercial.
Okay, but the residents will enter through there as well.
Pardon me?
Sorry, that front room on Broadview?
Yep.
That's going to be commercial, residential, both?
It's going to be commercial, but the owner can come through it and go up to his room, to his place, using this door.
Okay. Sorry, it's a bit of an unconventional structure, so I just wanted to understand how it was going to work.
Yes, I understand that.
Okay, thank you. I get it.
Okay, and I noticed in your revised drawings, you've incorporated the sound attenuation that planning is after?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Good.
All right, any further questions? Nope. All right, sir, thank you very much. We'll take it in for a decision.
Thank you.
Dylan, since you asked the questions.
Am I being punished for?
No, you're being rewarded.
This is a bit of an odd plan, honestly, but I don't really see any harm in it. If the owners want to kind of have this slightly ambiguous relationship with the gym that they own, you know, that's up to them. If you know, if it's sold in the future, I feel like people can adjust it in ways that are needed. I don't really have any problem with having the gym and the residential on, you know, sharing a floor, especially with the noise mitigation that planning has asked for. And in terms of the rear lot line, there's a lot of buildings in this area that go straight to the rear lot line, so I don't really see that as being exceptional. I think that's typical of the area and of these kind of commercial buildings. And it's certainly a good thing to be adding extra residential and commercial space to this sort of vibrant area and this main street. So for those reasons, I'm happy to move approval of these variances with the Metrolinx clause.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Reed to approve. Have a seconder. Ms. Plaitzer, all in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you. Item 28 is 317 Richview Avenue. This is an application to alter the existing two-story detached dwelling by constructing a one-story addition along a portion of the south side wall and a rear covered ground floor deck with stairs. Also to construct a front yard parking pad. Committee has before a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 17 photographs of trees on the subject property, covering letter from the agent, and an arborist report. We have staff reports from Urban Forestry and Transportation Review. There is correspondence and concern from 309 Richview Avenue.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers for this item.
Hey, thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Jay Smith, agent for the application. My address is 2493 Frankfield Road.
Okay, Mr. Smith, have you seen the transportation report recommending refusal of the parking pad?
I have, Mr. Chair. I can speak to that if you'd like.
Oh, yes, I think if you want to take us through that, then that would be great.
Yeah, we are proposing a rear covered deck, a side addition, ground floor addition. We are going to be showing legalizing the existing parking condition. There has been no parking down the side of the house on the site in its history. The current front yard configuration, the hard landscape, the soft landscaping have been in place since 2009. So historically, it has had quite a run already as the existing condition. We are showing parking entirely on the client's property. We are maintaining the current condition. We had a great meeting with the owners of number 315. I walked her through the site. She had no objections. The owners met with 319. They had no objections. I understand transportation concerns, but considering how long this has been in place, I don't believe that it is, a major issue. The owner is, looking to legalize an existing situation, and I'd be happy to answer any other questions that you might have.
Have you had discussions with transportation on this?
It came in rather late, so I have reached out, but I have not heard back yet. As I've shown on my cover letter, there are multiple locations on the street approved for front yard parking pads. There are many, albeit illegal, front yard parking pads on the street. It is quite a prevalent existing condition through the entire length of Richview. We would definitely not be out of the norm what's being shown, and considering that it has never been, parking behind the front wall of the house, we're just looking to maintain what's existing.
Or did you say that there are many non-legal parking?
Many non-legal, as well as just, I listed a few in my cover letter. We have some on Ava Road, 3 on Richview, parking pads, front yard parking approved. It is a common condition of the neighborhood.
Okay.
You know that like those may have been approved when it was still legal, but now transportation is no longer approving them, right?
I understood that, a parking pad, a boulevard parking pad, absolutely. But front yard parking entirely on the client's property, is another issue. Before, the city considered that a driveway, even though they couldn't park beside the house. Now, because we're showing the addition, the examiner felt that this was no longer a driveway and it fell into a front parking condition. So even though it's existing, even though the driveway isn't changing, even though there's nothing new, we have run into, legalizing because of an addition, even though we couldn't use the driveway.
So I'm pretty sympathetic, but I think like transportation could simply refuse the permit and then you would
They
have
could.
parking.
Yeah, we realize that they could do that, and then we will have to deal with that at that point.
Okay.
And I understand transportation, don't want to set a precedent, although the entire street has precedence for what we're asking for.
Well, to be clear, like that's not a good argument because the policy changed. So people might have had permission, but then the city decided to no longer give more permissions. So
I recognize that.
Yeah. So, but I think a better argument is that you already have a curb cut there, right? Because it was an existing driveway.
That's right.
Right. So it's not like you're asking to add a new curb cut and, the implications of that. You already have a curb cut in existence.
Yeah. Yes, there is literally no change to the existing condition, the existing parking condition, the hard landscaping, the curbs. All of it is remaining exactly the same. We ran into almost a technical variance by putting an addition where we couldn't park anyway. We've made our parking illegal.
So, but you're aware that you do face the risk of having transportation refuse.
We do, sir.
Okay, because I don't want to give the impression that if we decide to approve this, that you then have it. Because if we decide to approve this, it simply means that you still have to face transportation.
Absolutely, and that was made clear in the transportation report.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Yeah, I find myself sympathetic to your situation as well. I mean, you're absolutely right. Almost every residence in this neighborhood and along the street have driveway. The only observation I would make, sir, is that many of them have integral garages too, which make the driveway legal as opposed to not having a garage, and that's where a parking pad falls under the provisions of the restrictions of the city. So you're right. I mean, transportation may or may not be sympathetic to you when you bring it forward, but that's the risk that you take.
Absolutely, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. All right. Any further questions? Okay. All right. Let's take it into committee.
I'm happy to take this since I already chatted about it. Yeah. Like normally I'm not sympathetic to front yard parking, especially if it's new, but in this case, yeah, like it's clearly the existing condition. The applicant is well aware of the risks. I want to make sure of that. So from my point of view, and honestly, I find it better to have a parking pad rather than have an integral garage, which I don't think is really appropriate for, old part of the city. So to me, and it's entirely on their private property. So to me, this particular parking pad request is actually pretty reasonable. I'm happy to move approval of these variances, knowing that the proponent, the applicant, is aware that transportation can still refuse the parking pad permit. So they're aware of the risks, and I'm willing to approve our part, and then it's up to them to see what they can do with transportation.
Okay, there's forestry as well.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know if anyone else wanted to talk before I actually move those motions.
Well, I will. I'll say I'm sympathetic. The integral garage issue that you raised is an interesting one because I would hazard to suggest that the majority of people use their integral garage for storage, not for cars.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I feel like it's a bit of a anomaly in the
little shell game.
Yeah.
I didn't say that out loud, did I?
A garage door game. Is there a car behind that garage?
Not being invited back. All right, Dylan, did you make that a motion? Did you?
I'll make that a motion with forestry condition number 2.
Okay, motion by Mr. Reed to approve. The seconder, Ms. Plaitzer, all in favor. You have your approval, sir. Thank you. Okay, item number 29 is 728 Crawford Street. This is an application to construct a new 2-story detached ancillary building to contain a garage with 1 parking space on the ground floor and studio space, non-habitable space on the 2nd story in the rear yard abutting the laneway. Committee has before it a copy of plan, a survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of the subject property, 5 photographs, and consultation correspondence on comparable properties from the agent. We have staff report from TTC and correspondence and support from 728 and 726 Crawford. I guess 728 are the owners. Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have both the owner and agent here in person and no registered speakers.
Okay. Good afternoon. The green light in front of you, is it pushed?
Good afternoon.
There, that's better. Name and address, please, sir.
My name's Grant Edgar. I live at 728 Crawford Street.
Okay, and you can introduce your colleagues here?
My wife, Hannah Edgar.
Okay.
And the architect, Will Hudson, from Hudson Architecture.
All right. Okay, sir, you are proposing some storage space. Why don't you tell us about it?
So we're basically asking for a 2-story garage to facilitate like storage as well as a studio space for my wife to work from. Because currently at our house, it's very crowded with 4 of us in the small home, and we're looking for a quiet, secure place for her to do her personal coaching. Also, like parking is very important to us, so we need to have. Currently, the structure isn't safe for our car to even fit in there, and so we're asking just for this so we could have an extra space as well as somewhere secure to store our vehicle. And we're trying to conform, like, to the best of our ability to what a laneway suite is asking us to do. And in many of those instances, we are under the proposed amounts that they're asking. So currently, like, we're going to be giving us more permeable space on the lot when we take out a temporary shed and also remove some concrete slab and improve that backyard to the best of our ability. So that's basically what we're going for.
Is there a garage there now?
There is, and I honestly don't know how it's standing up at the moment. It's missing many of the support structures on the side. Like, we don't really use it. We have a bike or two in there.
And is your proposal basically the same footprint as the existing garage?
Slightly larger. We're increasing the setback from the laneway to accommodate, like in accordance with what the laneway suite bylaws are. But our neighbor to the north is about 1.5 feet inward, so we're going to match what they're doing there.
Okay.
But no further.
All right.
Go
ahead, Dylan.
Quick question. Just to confirm, so the idea of the studio space is as a workspace for your wife? Or
and also like for my kids and also for some musical instruments potentially up there. Basically a studio space, an extra room, if you will, for us to go to.
Could you confirm? Okay. Oh, sorry, if you weren't done.
No, I'm done.
Could you confirm a comparison for us? What's the gross floor area of the primary residence in comparison to the proposed structure? Do you know that? It was referred to as something that would be useful somewhere in the materials, and I don't think I ever came across it.
I don't think I have that information.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Gary, go ahead.
So you referred to some of the laneway suite standards, but this is not habitable space, right? You're saying this is a sort of studio space that might be used for several purposes, but
That's correct. Like there won't be any plumbing or anything like that.
that's what I wanted to ask. There's no okay.
Yeah,
no,
there's no infrastructure to support laneway at this point. So no, like it's strictly as a space, maybe with like a sport heater in there at best, but other than that, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions? All right, thank you. Okay, let's take it in. Who wants to start this one?
I can start the discussion, just sort of some thoughts. Yeah, typically, I think I've said before that I tend to agree that the two-story ancillary building should be reserved for habitable space. It's a benefit that I think should be accrued for increasing housing options in the city. With this situation, I do see from the images provided that there's really close proximity to Bloor Street via the laneway, and so there's definitely sort of two-story typology within that laneway. So I'm kind of two minds at the moment, but I'd really appreciate hearing everyone else's thoughts.
Dylan?
I think this is good. People are working from home now more and more. And what we're doing is we're creating essentially a workspace within a residential area so that people can actually more easily work from home. I think that's good. I think it's good. The commute is like literally a minute. People can carry on their businesses from their home in a space. You know, the homes in downtown are pretty small. I've encountered this myself during the pandemic, and it is hard to find a space that's quiet and free where you can actually do your work. So I feel like the use of it as a workspace is similar to use of it as a residential space. We're basically creating an office space for someone to do their work. So I think that this is fun. I think this is a good proposal, and I would support it.
Okay, thank you. Gary?
I'm not so sure. I think that Katie's remarks, the topology and seeing a second story on an ancillary building, that we ought to be thinking about those situations where we have, living space. We have either a laneway or a garden suite or whatever. So, yes, I think I'll stick with that. I don't feel that I can support the application.
Okay. All right, I'll need a motion then. Let's get things going.
I'll start off with the motion to approve the variances with TDC conditions 1 and 5.
Motion by Mr. Reed to approve. Do I have a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second in this case.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Reed to approve, second by Ms. Plaitzer. All in favor? Opposed? I will abstain. So not to create a tie. The application is approved.
Right. Okay.
Item number 30 is 247 McRoberts Avenue. This is an application to alter the existing two-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a rear one-story addition with a deck and stairs, a new front covered porch with stairs, including a cold room below, and a front basement walkout. There will be a total of 2 residential dwelling units on this lot. Committee has before it a copy plan, a survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 2 photographs of the subject property.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers for this item.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair.
Good afternoon.
My name is Marco Vieira, I'm the agent, and I'm at 257 Dunraven Drive.
Okay. This looks quite minor. Anyone need a presentation? No, we're good. Any questions? I think everyone saw the front landscaping, but I think it's one of those situations where it's a lot line issue. The lot line is very, very close to the front of the building. It's very difficult to get more landscaping in that kind of configuration.
Okay, good point.
Okay, sir, we don't need a presentation today. We've read your application. We're familiar with the material. Is there anything you'd like to share with the panel before we take it for a decision?
Through you, Mr. Chair. No, I do agree with you. I just wanted to make, just know that in terms of the landscaping, you're providing a little bit more landscaping than the current situation. I know it's not required, but part of the existing porch is being demolished to accommodate the new stairs. Some of the walkway is being reconfigured just to add a little bit more of softscaping in the front. And you are correct, it is very tight with lot line to the front of the existing porch. But we believe that it is appropriate in this case.
Okay. All right, panel, anything further? We good? All right, let's take it into committee.
I'm happy to move a motion to approve this. I don't have any concerns with the 2 variances being requested, and I don't see any conditions.
Right. Okay, motion by Ms. Plaitzer to approve. Do I have a seconder? Mr. McKay, all in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you. All right, move to, everyone's okay with going forward? Anyone need a break?
Maybe just 5 minutes.
Take a 5-minute break.
Yeah.
All right. All right, thanks, Chair.
I think the last one might take a while, so it might be good to prepare.
Okay. All right. So take a break then. Yes. Okay.
Gary, you want to turn your microphone off there?
Gary? Short break. 6 minutes. How's your mother?
All right, we continue. We are on item 31, 121 Victor Ave. This is an application to alter the existing 2.5-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a partial rear third-story addition and a side third-floor roof deck, partially located on the roof of the second story below. Committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevation, 6 photographs of trees on the subject property. We have 3 form letters in support from 117, 119, 125 Victor Avenue, and correspondence in opposition from 123 Victor Avenue.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers for this item.
Good afternoon. Mr. Durazo?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm trying to unmute the applicant now. Muting for him for some reason. Through you, Mr. Chair, if the applicant could try signing on to another device, that would help him unmute, because this one is not unmuting.
Okay, Mr. Durazo, do you hear that? If you're listening, do you want to give him a call?
Sure.
Why don't we do that?
Adam, you're unmuted.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, hi.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. Sorry about that. It's actually Adam Brander from Brander
Mr.
Architects.
Brander. Sorry, I've got you're right. I'm sorry, I've got the wrong one. Go ahead. Address, please, sir.
Our address is 260 Carlisle Avenue, Suite 202D, and I'm the agent and the architect for the application at 121 Victor Avenue.
Okay. Panel, do you need a presentation on this one? Seeing shaking heads. Mr. Brander, we don't need a presentation today. We've read your application. Seems fairly straightforward. We may have questions. Is there anything you'd like to share with us before we go there?
Just that we feel the application is minor in nature, 2 variances only. Have some support from the neighbors. We've talked to planning. They have no concerns. And south is at the rear of these properties, so any concerns of shadow impacts are mostly impacting the building itself and not casting shadows on any adjacent neighbors. But happy to answer any questions and go into more detail.
You said the neighbor doesn't have any concerns. 123 has written in with some concerns. Have you guys spoken with the resident there?
Yeah, the homeowner is engaged with the local neighbors, which resulted in 3 letters of support from the attached neighbor. I understand there's been a letter posted with concerns of mostly shadow impacts, not overlook, if I'm remembering the letter correctly. So we had looked at the lot itself, and there's actually really big mature trees in the rear yard that create a beautiful kind of shadow profile for the house, so that there's any perceived shadows from the house are minimal or non-existent. And as I was mentioning, because we're facing south with the rear elevation, the southern sun casts the shadow right back on each of the houses themselves. So there's not really concern for adjacent shadow impacting in reality.
Okay. And I noticed from your drawings that you've already got privacy screening on the deck.
Yeah, the homeowner is agreeable to install privacy screening on the east side should the committee deem it necessary.
I thought I saw it on your plans. That's why I didn't. Is it not in your plans, or maybe I've missed it? I have
Might
a
have
note
might
in
have been a
my,
high railing, or yeah, but yeah, if it's the extra height for privacy screening, that's
drawing
entirely okay.
A41 looks like it has screening there.
And we might have anticipated the
Just a sec.
sensitivity there.
You see that? It's up on the screen here.
Oh, that's what Is the applicant still with us?
I don't know. Mr. Brander, are you there? Did we
Yeah,
lose him?
I'm there. We're connected by a phone call, so we're agreeable to privacy screening, though.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. We can put a condition in. I just noticed from that elevation, it looks like it's already there.
Yeah, we could have anticipated that for sure.
Okay. All right, panel, any questions?
Just confirming that I think it'd be good to put a privacy screen condition because the neighbor was concerned about that.
Okay. All right. Let's take it into committee. Katie?
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to support this application. Looks like a functional and attractive remodel. Keeping in mind the neighbors' concerns about overlook, I do think the recommendation for privacy screening on that upper deck would be great. So I would move to approve with that condition. And I think that was along the east line.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion by Ms. Plaitzer to approve with a condition, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you. Item number 32 is 169 Waverley Road. This is an application to construct a new two-story detached dwelling with a front integral garage, a front covered porch with stairs, and a rear covered ground floor deck. Committee had before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of the subject property, covering letter from the agent, previous decision number affecting the subject property. We have an arborist report and presentation materials from the agent. We have 7 letters of support from owners occupants of 54 Belfair Avenue and 157, 160, 162, 163, 164, and 167 Waverley.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers for this item.
Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Adria Durazo from Replacement Design, located at 160 the Westway, Unit 16A in Etobicoke. I'm here on behalf of the property owners at 169 Waverley Road. Would the committee like a presentation?
You're building on a previous approval, so maybe you could just kind of take us through quickly what you're proposing to do and how it relates to your previous application.
Sure, I have presentation materials to support this. The proposal before the committee was a revised version of a design that was previously approved. As the project developed, the extent of the reconstruction required resulted in the proposal being reclassified as a new dwelling rather than an alteration. Because of this technical change, the client wanted to explore have a little bit more added to the property. The current application requests minor relief for building depth, mainly, which is only an increase of 0.66 meters beyond the previously approved depth. The proposed FSI is also modest, as shown on page 3 of the presentation materials. There is precedent within the neighborhood of similar approvals. These changes do not significantly alter the overall scale of the character of the house, and we have support from the neighbors. We are also aware of an urban forestry requirements related to the project. Permit has already been obtained for the removal of 1 private tree, and all required tree protection hoarding has been installed. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks. So you're only really asking for a modest increase in the depth and a little bump on the FSI.
That's correct.
Thanks. All right, thank you very much. Panel questions? See none. Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. Let's take it into committee. Jerry, what do you think?
Yes, I think the two variances are small. I think very supportable. It seems to me I haven't heard the conditions 1, 2, and 3 from Urban Forestry. So I'll move then that we approve this variance application for this property in Waverley, subject to Urban Forestry conditions 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, motion by Mr. McKay to approve, subject to forestry. To have a seconder. Ms. Plaitzer, all in favor?
Right.
You have your approval, ma'am. Thank you. We move on to today's final item. Item number 33, 1560 and 15 to 1568 Yonge Street and 1 Heath Street West. This is an application to construct a new 3-story detached multi-purpose dwelling building abutting residential R zone category with a mezzanine level in the 3rd story, a mechanical rooftop and multi-purpose meeting room on the 4th story, connecting outdoor terrace and 3 green rooftops, 2 at the 3rd story and 1 on the 4th story. The building will contain program areas, which will include community spaces, convertible theater, auditorium, atrium, gathering area, workshop and studio spaces, and meeting rooms. The committee has before a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, covering letter from the agent, 2 from the agent, 1 on April 1st, 1 on the 2nd on May 25th. We have an arborist report, planning justification from the agent, presentation materials from the agent, transportation memo. We have site-specific zoning bylaw and an OMB decision affecting the subject property. We have staff report from TTC. We have a lot of correspondence in opposition. I counted 47 pieces of correspondence. I'm not going to read off the addresses for them. They appear to be pretty much mostly from 10 Del Isle Avenue, and there's a few from surrounding streets. And we have present materials in opposition, again, from 10 Del Isle.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent here in person and a number of speakers in interest and opposition in person and online as well.
Okay, do we know how many people are online?
2.
2, okay. All right, thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Last name is Bronskill, Bronskill, first initial D for David, 333 Bay Street, Suite 3400 in Toronto as the mailing address, and I'm here today as the agent for the applicant on this matter.
All right. As you can see, we have quite a crowd who wants to speak to this item, so we'll need a fairly comprehensive presentation, please.
I'll do that, Mr. Chair, and then look forward to listening to those who have to speak. We do have the presentation that I'll probably spend most of my time in with you. And I'm here to present what I think is actually a really exciting opportunity for the City of Toronto. It's a proposed new multi-purpose venue that would include cultural, performance, and community-oriented uses. You probably are very familiar with it, the Delisle Court shops on the west side of Yonge, just north of the St. Clair subway station, where there has also been a lot of recent intensification activity as well. There are 8 variances that are associated with this proposal, Mr. Chair. Notably, and I'll go through this, there are no variances before the panel with respect to height. There are no variances before the panel with respect to density. There is one GFA matter that I'll go through. There are no variances before the panel in respect to parking. So I just wanted to bring that up front because I did go through the submissions with the help of the consultant team so that we could understand the concerns. And there are some concerns related to variances that frankly aren't before the committee. We do have, Mr. Chair, at the appropriate time if required, members of Bousfields here and BA Group, who are the authors of the planning memo and the transportation memo that are before you as well as part of this. If staff can just go back one slide, apologies. What we've done on the slide before, sorry, just the other way, just up a couple of slides. That's the one, the subject site with the nice color boxes. You can see that what we've done in red is we're calling that kind of the development site where there would be a building. You can see to the north green where there's an existing house, and then what we've layered on there is blue, which is a service corridor that services both Delisle Court on Yonge Street and then the building to the west. And so we just wanted to sort of have those pieces available for the committee so you could see them. We've got on the next page some pictures, but you're probably quite familiar with both the shops and the surrounding land uses. The next page then talks about the as of right zoning permissions, and I will only spend about 15 seconds here, Mr. Chair. There is a debate in some of the correspondence you've received as to whether the variances before you are correct. I'm going to say two things to you, Mr. Chair. They are. Secondly, it doesn't matter whether I'm right or not, because the zoning review that was done with the buildings department has determined the variances that are required for the proposal. And as we know, they're the ones who ultimately decide on permit issuances. So I do believe the variances are correct, but it's also not my opinion that matters or the opinion of anybody else. So I'm going to speak to the variances that are identified, not to any other variances that people may think need to be obtained from the committee. The next page then starts to lay out the 8 variances that are before you. There's one related to interior floor height. There's one related to a minimum building height down on Delisle Avenue. There are, along the west property line, fence requirements, landscape requirements, and then a rear yard setback provision associated with lots when they butt a residential zone. There's a Yonge Street angular plane, if you can see there on the bottom right, and then there's a variance related to the loading. And so I'm just going to go through those very quickly with you because we've broken them down and attempted to show them graphically to you. The minimum height variance, and we've got there the proposed development with the east elevation to show it to you. There's a minimum height of 10.5 meters for a structure. The way this has been designed is you can see there on the left, we've got 9.1 meters. And that's just coming on down onto the Delisle Court side. That provision, I think, is there to ensure that along Yonge Street, we're having a meaningful street wall, that we're not seeing smaller buildings develop along the main street. We believe that the intent of that provision has been maintained through this. You can see the structure. I don't think anyone would characterize as an insignificant structure. I think that's largely a technical variance in terms of how it's been deployed through the architecture and design. The next page deals with what I was talking to you about on the west property line. We're abutting the residential zone. So you can see the existing condition there on the left, about 9.6 meters up against the property line. This proposal would have 10.05 meters instead of 9.6. That's the variance that's related, variances 6 and 7, to the 0 meter setback. It's essentially the existing condition, but I acknowledge it's the existing condition with an additional 0.45 meters. So 9.6 today has a 0. We're up to 10.05. So it's a slight increase in the height that's there, but it's still a 0 meter setback in terms of what exists there today. And it essentially matches the existing terrace that's on the building to the west. So there's a reason for the 10.05. You can then see that there's a spatial separation of, at minimum, 10 meters from the existing building to the balance of the venue as it's designed on Yonge Street. That would also mean, Mr. Chair, that, for example, the fencing and landscaping, which are variances, that landscaping, that fencing also does not exist there today and obviously wouldn't be provided as part of the proposed design. Angular planes, the next page, you really have to strain to see the white color. You can see there kind of in the top right. So you can see the building. The purple is the angular plane. That white piece on the tallest element on the upper right, and thanks staff just zoomed in there, which was helpful. That's the extent of the penetration into the angular plane. It's that little white triangle there on the top corner, and I'm going to suggest to you that that is not a meaningful penetration into the angular plane. There's also a loading variance before you, sir, and I'll just quickly end on that and stop talking because I know I've taken some time. There are essentially 5 spaces today that end up being shared or utilized by the condominium building to the west and the existing facility along Yonge Street. The 2 spaces in the condominium building are not being altered. They would stay. The zoning, if you look on the public notice, actually requires 2 spaces, 2 type B loading spaces. What we're proposing for this is actually 3. 1 would be a type B, and then there would be 2 type C loading spaces. And BA has analyzed that in great detail, and that's intended to promote additional opportunities for drop-offs. So you'd have the 3 spaces instead of the 2 that are required by the bylaw, albeit the 2 are C and 1 is a B. And that's intended to facilitate the activity that might be associated with this venue in a way that in fact is perhaps more than what the bylaw was required, but just deployed through a B and 2 Cs. That's a description overall, Mr. Chair. I know you've got to hear from some people who have concerns, so I'll stop there unless the panel has any questions now.
I have one technical question.
I do have a couple of questions, Dylan. Just hang on a second. Clarification points, and it's important to understand this before we hear from the residents. First off, can I just direct you to your presentation, Mr. Vos? The variance number 8, the one with the purple, and the one just previous to it.
Yep.
So they show different configurations in the height. Correct? I just need to understand. In the purple, is that the actual shape of the proposed dwelling?
No, the purple, this is where lawyers are always color challenged. There's a light purple, a pink, that shows the actual building that's proposed. You've then got the purple, which is a box, which would be the permitted zoning outline.
That's the as of right.
That's the as of right.
So I just draw your attention to that configuration, and the one previous, it looks like it has some sort of prominent thing sticking up.
Oh, I can speak to that. 2 things, Mr. Chair. This is part of the road I don't want to go down. I just want to be very careful when I say as of right. It's an as of right for a new building. The site-specific zoning bylaw does restrict the height of the existing building if it's modified. This proposal would demolish the existing building, which means the zoning department says it's a new building, so you go to the as-of-right permissions in bylaw 569/2013. That's that purple box.
Right.
Okay. What you're seeing there on the left, and it says spatial separation over top.
Right. I'm more concerned if you go to the right of that, that sort of angled piece that sort of juts up high.
Yeah.
Is that part of the building?
It is part of the building. That's, I think that's just the perspective as you come around from a southeast with the axiometric. You can see that if you go to the next page as well. So, you're talking about.
Can I just, I should do this. Sabrina gets mad when I do this, but I'm just going to get up here. This part here.
Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering what is. It's not shown, it doesn't show up in the next slide.
And if you don't, apologies, Mr. Chair, I know this is unorthodox, if you don't mind being Vanna White. Staff went to the next page there. That is that piece above the square box. It's just the southeast elevation that's on the page before in an axiometric. I don't think gives maybe the right perception when you show them together. You can see the different boxes and different layers. This is a bit of I'm going to say the page before is a bit of a squish to have it from that angle. This page is a better representation with seeing it all laid out.
So to be clear, then, what you're proposing, with the exception of the angular plane, fits in the as of right permissions.
It's below the as of right. It's about 5 meters below the as of right permission.
Secondly, you spoke to this issue. I just want to explore it because many of the people in this room wrote about it. It was the OMB decision.
Yep.
So could you just go over the interpretation? Because some people are of the view that the OMB very clearly restricted anything coming in beyond what the height was in the existing building.
I have it, sir, because I saw those. It's a 1999 decision.
Right.
I've read it. That's not what it says, and it doesn't say that.
Okay.
What it talks about, sir, is Mr. Vera Kelly as the architect having a U-shaped design because he redeployed some of the massing around it. I actually went back and pulled the staff report that accepted the settlement offer. And I have that too. What the staff report says about the settlement offer that's implemented through the 1999 OMB decision, I want to pause there for a moment and then say something obvious. That's 27 years ago. And a lot has happened in the planning world in 27 years. But secondly, what the staff report speaks clearly to is that they did consider redevelopment on Delisle Court. What the applicant at that time decided to do was not put any additional structures on Delisle Court. Why? Because they didn't want to demolish it. And if they tried to do any type of building intervention from building on top of it, the structural work that would have gone into it would have meant that tenants would have had to leave. And they didn't want to do that because the tenants would have said, I'm going to have to go in a year anyway, I'm not going to stay. And they were actually worried about tenants vacating. That's why there was nothing done on Delisle Court at the time. And what the zoning then does is say, I'm going to permit the development, and I'm going to secure the existing building, but quite clearly it says the existing building's height as modified. Once you demolish that existing building, the height restrictions for that existing building no longer apply, and the zoning department has clearly said we've got to go back to the as of right permissions. That's why there's no height variance before you. I would be having a different discussion with the panel if about height if it was a determination that the restriction on the existing building also applied to a new building, and quite clearly it does not.
Lastly, I know Dylan's got a question. Lastly, the service corridor, a lot of concern about that too. So can you just very quickly, the alterations, are you making any alterations to the service corridor?
There are some changes in terms of how the loading will be utilized on the east side.
Okay.
Otherwise, the service corridor, as it continues to be used, will continue to function as a shared service corridor. BA Group analyzed it. They actually think it's going to be less intrusive, in part because one of the uses that will disappear, and I know people don't like that it's going to disappear, I recognize that, medical office uses. So some of the intensity of the use of the site today will actually be less than what's proposed. So the servicing corridor is being appropriately designed, and it's not going to negatively impact, i.e. it's not going to get any worse, and in fact, it'll get better than what it is today.
Okay. Great, thank you very much. Those are my questions. Dylan, did you have a question, a technical question?
Yeah, a technical question. In the purpose of the application, it begins to construct a new 3-story detached multipurpose building, but then later it refers to the 4th floor several times, the 4th story. So I'm wondering if we need to adjust the purpose to change it to construct a new 4-story detached multipurpose building.
Yeah, I would be fine with that change. This is a bit of a question as to whether, for example, a mezzanine that's within it and whether a level that has amenity space would count as stories. I would be fine. It doesn't change the variances. I would be fine if the purpose referred to a 4-story detached multipurpose building. There is a reference in the purpose itself to the multipurpose meeting room, 4th story, connecting outdoor terrace and 3 green rooftops, 2 at the 3rd story and 1 on the 4th story. It's that multi-purpose meeting room connecting to the outdoor terrace that would form the 4th story. And I would be fine calling it that.
Okay, let's do that. I think that makes it much clearer.
Thank you.
Removes ambiguity.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to confirm that based on how zoning reviewed this, zoning staff reviewed this, whether it's 3 or 4 stories.
I can go back and check and come back. I'll pull the zoning review and come back and check.
Okay, why don't you do that?
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
We will Hear from, we're going to deal, have you guys figured out what order you're planning to come and speak on? Are you speaking on behalf of everyone?
I'm speaking on behalf of the condominium corporation at 10
Okay, so maybe you can start. I mean, people have the right to speak. Come on up. I'm just going to do a couple overarching comments for everyone here today. You all have 5 minutes to speak, and we're delighted to hear from you. We've read all your correspondence and your submissions. I'm going to ask you if you would please indulge us by trying to avoid repeating the same kind of comments or concerns that maybe you've already heard from one of your residences, because we will have heard that. It doesn't really help to state it over and over and over again, and it just takes up a lot of time that we don't really want to use. I'd also remind everyone to restrict, if you can, your comments to the variances that are before us, because that's really what this committee is dealing with, is the variances. I know in reading the correspondence, many of you have raised concerns or lamented about the loss of certain types of services in the existing building, but that's not before us. So you've seen the variances, you've all looked at them. If you can try to frame your remarks around the variances and from your perspective what the impact of those variances are on you. So that would help us a lot if you guys could all do that, and we'll get through this together. Okay. Now, sir, same provisions go for you. If you could give us your name and address, please, sir.
The name is Michael Cook. The address is 425 Adelaide Street West, the 10th floor in Toronto.
Okay. You have 5 minutes, sir.
So I'm a planning lawyer at Davies Howe and counsel to TSCC number 1591, which is the condominium corporation for 10 Delisle, the residential building, the 14-story residential building that immediately abuts subject property to the west. And we're asking the committee to refuse this application. First of all, I want to respond to a comment by my friend Mr. Bronskill with respect to whether or not it matters what variance is before you. It does. Whether the variances matter are correct is important. Mistakes are made all the time. As you know, you often have applications that come back because something was missed. And I don't think the committee should ignore evidence that there was a mistake in this case. So these lands have an important history that the committee needs to understand. In the late 1990s, the subject lands, my client's lands and the lands before you, were part of a single integrated redevelopment to facilitate the redevelopment and the construction of 10 Delisle. The approved scheme placed east-facing residential units at 10 Delisle as close as 0 to 3.5 meters from the property line shared with the subject lands. To protect those units, site-specific height restrictions were incorporated into the site-specific bylaw. That was the result of an OMB settlement, and that bylaw caps heights on the subject lands at 9.2 meters as shown on map 3 to that bylaw. The applicant takes the position that the height restrictions in the site-specific bylaw do not apply to the existing, or only apply to the existing building, and therefore demolition extinguishes them. That interpretation should be rejected for 3 reasons. First, the height limits are fixed by reference to map 3, and like any bylaw, the map delineates controls over geographic areas of land, not a particular structure. Demolition does not eliminate those fixed heights. Second, the site-specific bylaw must be read as a whole. In this regard, the Court of Appeal has stated as follows: the interpretation of bylaws involves consideration of the text of the bylaw, the intent of municipal council, and the purpose and scheme of the bylaw as a whole. In this case, the permissions and restrictions in that bylaw are an integrated scheme. The height restrictions on the subject lands were one element of the conditions under which the entire development was approved. Section 1A of that bylaw demonstrates this and explicitly contemplates the erection of a mixed-use building, quote, provided that the mixed-use building consists of the existing building, a residential component, and a commercial parking garage. Third, the restriction would be largely redundant if its only function were to cap the existing building at its existing height. It serves no purpose if it can be ignored by demolishing the building. I appreciate that the bylaw refers to the height of the existing building, and there may be a temptation to conclude that if it does not exist, it does not apply. But the existing building was defined as existing for the purposes of the bylaw because it was already there, and its height was limited because it was one element of an integrated development scheme 10 Delisle was designed around. The sensible and correct interpretation of the bylaw is that it's forward-looking, protecting 10 Delisle residents from precisely the kind of negative built form impacts this application would introduce. With respect to the 4 tests, I think it's clear that it fails. Approving a height beyond what's permitted by the site-specific zoning bylaw would completely undermine the very specific intent and purpose of the site-specific bylaw. One should not be able to selectively skirt conditions one does not like by eliminating elements of the development contemplated by the bylaw. This is also not minor. The elevations submitted with the application illustrate the adverse built form impacts on 10 Delisle that the site-specific bylaw was enacted to prevent. This is a significant negative planning impact on the residents whose units would be enclosed in this canyoning effect. It's also not desirable. The east-facing units at 10 Delisle were designed and built in reliance on the protections in the site-specific bylaw. Purchasers and residents relied on that zoning framework. It's also difficult to conclude that this purported community center is desirable for the appropriate development of the land or compatible with the surrounding community in light of the almost 50 letters of objection from the community. In conclusion, the site-specific bylaw was intentionally drafted to prevent exactly what is being proposed here. Approval of this application would undo a comprehensive, negotiated, OMB-approved planning framework. Moreover, an interpretation that concludes the height restrictions can be circumvented by demolishing the existing building is not a reasonable interpretation of any zoning instrument. The application doesn't explain an alternative rationale, and I've seen nothing from the zoning department in writing that explains an alternative rationale. All we have from them is silence. Until recently, the application didn't even acknowledge the existence of this site-specific bylaw. Reliance on such a novel interpretation of zoning regulations, especially given the significant negative planning impacts,
just going to ask you if I could ask you to conclude.
Those are all my remarks.
Okay, thank you very much.
You.
Before you go, I'm going to ask Mr. Bronskill the same question. You did make reference to city staff. Have you had, on behalf of your clients, had any discussion with city staff with respect to this application, particularly with respect to the OMB ruling?
I have not had direct discussions. My client has, and they have been advised that the interpretation was the bylaw doesn't apply.
Okay, I will ask. Doesn't apply?
Or the indication was that somehow elimination of the existing building would release the site from those restrictions. Okay. We think that's incorrect.
Your client has basically gotten something in writing from city staff?
I can't say if it was in writing. They had discussions with Toronto, with the zoning department. So
I will ask Mr. Bronskill the same question, to be fair. So, okay, that's fine.
But I've not seen anything in writing that would explain this interpretation that we're being required to or asked to.
But you haven't at the same time seen anything in writing suggesting that the current application wouldn't be allowed given the ruling from 1999?
No, I've not seen that. That's our interpretation of the bylaw. It just doesn't make sense otherwise.
All right, that's good. Thank you very much, sir. Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, how are we going to do this? Do we have a volunteer to go first, or how do we want to?
Come on up.
You want to come on up? Be brave.
A raise of hands of who's going to be speaking.
Okay, if you can just kind of amongst yourselves sort of figure out who's coming up next, that would be great. You have slides? Yeah, have a seat. And is the green light on in front of you? Okay, push the green light. Perfect. And I'll ask you for your name and address first, ma'am.
It's Gita Koblenz, 10 Delisle, Unit 716.
Okay, and you have some presentation material?
Just that slide here.
Is this it here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Could you go next, please?
Well, you have, you have 5 minutes to speak to us, so Staff will scroll your presentation for you.
I think due to the time limit, I will stick to one page to the page.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, so pardon me, like, you know, I'm a little bit nervous. Basically, due to like limit of time, like, and as you said, like people already raised a lot of issues. We had 50 letters of, you know, disagreement. And it would have been much more because it was very short notice. But I would like to speak something very particular, and I think it's related to variance of increasing public space 10 times from 400 square meters to 5,000 square meters, which interestingly, developer just did mention that right now. And also, it's related to that atrium on the north side of the building, as you can see on the right side of the drawing, or the lower drawing. It's a northeast corner of 10 Delisle, and my apartment is exactly behind that atrium. So it's not 3 and 4-story height, it's 7-story high atrium. The idea is that the developer explained to us there will be some performance hall in that corner at the north part of the building, and there will be entrance from HEATH Street. So as I mentioned, my apartment will be right behind that atrium on that wall, and several other apartments of the same layout. So since I know the layout, I think I can explain what's going to happen to us and to me in person. We'll see that atrium from 3 directions. From south side, that slightly slanted side on the south, and we'll see it from, I will see it from my bedroom. And most likely there'll be like light pollution during night, because most likely it will be glass. From my living room, I will see west side of that atrium, which will look like complete like blank wall, no sky, not even a sliver of sky. No sunlight, just a wall, blank wall facing me. Distance not going to even matter much, because I will lose any sense of distance and perspective. It will be just a wall. And from north side, because it's corner unit, it's actually beautiful corner unit, I will also see the same wall because it stretches further north. So I will see north side of this atrium from my living room, kitchen, and balcony. So essentially, I will be surrounded by that atrium. Visually, I will be surrounded, like basically by very big, massive, oppressive building. Only walls, instead of beautiful view that I have now. Right now I can see like at least 6 kilometers far from Yonge Street to Lee Side. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful view. So in addition, there will be like canyon effect between the building. Imagine 7-story high atrium and 7-story building like our corner. And it will be like kind of like a tunnel and canyon effect. So I just wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything. So yeah, it will be just terrible. It's just terrible. I would like to add personal note. It's kind of very hard. Like I have to just 5 minutes to explain that everything I achieved in Canada, like in my life in Canada, will be destroyed till the rest of my life, actually. So I really hope that committee will reject that application.
Thank you, ma'am. Panel, any questions? Thank you very much, ma'am. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Joseph Clark. I also live at 10 Delisle on the west side, facing away from the site. I'm also a professor at U of T at the Daniels Faculty of Architecture and the Department of Art History. And previously, I practiced as an architect. So I'd like to acknowledge all the work that's gone into this proposal, and I'd like to speak to just one of the tests that this committee is applying, whether the requested variances are desirable for the appropriate development of the site and neighboring lands. This is a complex site because it sits at the meeting point of 2 different urban conditions. It forms part of the mixed-use corridor along a major commercial street, and it also engages residential streets, and in fact is physically joined to a residential building. So anything built here should be a harmonious neighbor to both of these conditions. Not many buildings in Toronto have really managed this kind of condition well. But one that has is the existing retail complex, Delisle Court. When it was built in the 1970s, these were the years that Jane Jacobs was active in Toronto, this part of Yonge Street was intensifying, but still it needed buildings that worked at a pedestrian scale and respected the residential neighborhood. The designer, Rocco Maragna, wanted to bring the spirit of an Italian piazza to Yonge Street. Now, this building is not a piece of spectacular signature architecture. It's modest in height, but it's porous at street level. And for more than 50 years, it has been contributing to a more walkable public realm. Now, no one is suggesting that this building needs to be preserved in aspic. Buildings change. The question is whether whatever replaces it is a similarly appropriate and nuanced response to the dual character of this site, whether it's desirable for the neighborhood, and whether any variances you grant facilitate that. And on that question, the application is concerning. The proposal is a much larger building with a more concentrated pattern of use, hence the request for a 10-fold increase in assembly and eating space. Last week, the applicant told residents that the 200 to 300 seat theater could be used for corporate meetings, weddings, and private rentals, and could operate all day from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. In other words, this is a large, busy event venue. A facility of this intensity might well be appropriate somewhere along Yonge Street, but its implications for a fine-grained residential edge in terms of congestion, servicing through this shared service corridor, parking, and noise have not been adequately addressed. Last week, when residents raised concerns about rock bands in the venue, the applicant said that this kind of amplified music could indeed be performed here, but that the building would be engineered to contain the sound. And that is welcome news, but it's not enough. Low-frequency sound and vibration can transmit through the ground, it can transmit through building structure. The proposed facility will be directly abutting and even connected to a residential building and located 10 meters away from people's bedrooms. And so I would submit that a building of this kind should not be authorized through minor variances on the basis of unspecified engineering promises. So I respectfully request that the committee refuse the application or defer it until these issues are properly addressed.
Great, thank you very much, sir. Panel, any questions to the speaker? Thank you very much, sir. Hi.
Hello. My name is Jordan Bear, and I live at 10 Delisle Avenue. And thank you for the chance to speak briefly today. One of the 4 tests that this committee must apply is whether a proposed variance is minor. And we've heard this afternoon a lot of requests that certainly fall within those parameters. The desire to add storage space to a residential detached house. What's being proposed here is to demolish half of a city block of Yonge Street. I would suggest to those of us who are not professionals, who are just people living in Toronto, trying to make sense of how this place is growing, that strikes me as a bit bizarre. You've heard others speak eloquently about the technical concerns related to the application, but I just really have a more fundamental question, which is what kind of a city are we building for ourselves to live in? Is it the kind where the urban fabric is sewn together by small businesses, as at Delisle Court, many with decades of longevity, run by diverse people who are also our neighbors? Or is it one where small businesses and the cohesion that they bring to a community are destroyed? Among the small businesses in Delisle Court which are being displaced is a small flower shop run by an immigrant woman who has made a success, has had a life and a business in this location. Once that's gone, the only place to buy flowers or fruit or vegetables in the neighborhood will be Loblaws across the street. There's a neighborhood pharmacy that's about the size of a closet. It's run by a neighbor of ours who knows your name and your prescription by heart, who gives out his cell phone number for emergencies. When he's gone, what will we have? Shoppers Drug Mart across the street. Throughout the city, this has been the course of things. Less independence, less locality, less texture, less place. The monotony of shiny corporate nothingness is overtaking us, and with real consequences for us who live here, urbanistic, economic, and spiritual. Virtually every neighbor that I've talked to about this development, dozens of them, sighs and wonders what can possibly be done. And that's because they think that this is inevitable. They think that this is in the bag, because they think that the wealthiest and most powerful people in Toronto, in the end, always get their way. Trust in city government is very low right now, because as much as we hear about the importance of community input, in the end, it seems it rarely changes the outcome. I hope that with your decision today, you can start to be part of repairing this important trust. We are the community. We are the most immediate community. We have expressed ourselves in the 50 letters that have been submitted, more or less. We live within inches of the proposed development, and we, the most immediate community, do not want what is being rammed through with haste. Those who already have everything in our society have enough. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Panel, questions? Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Name and address, please.
My name's Mary Renault. I'm here as a resident of Deer Park, 625 Avenue Road, apartment 602. I'm objecting to this project being considered here in the Committee of Adjustment. I find myself a bit bewildered to find myself in front of you to object to such a project, given the 4 tests that the Committee of Adjustment sets for itself, to construe demolition of an entire block of retail and offices and its replacement with something of an entirely different function and shape as a minor variation is ludicrous on the face of it. And while the committee may find a way to stretch its mind to such a conclusion, I would suggest, as Mr. Baer just did, that such an approval would be the sign of something not admirable and a betrayal of the purpose of the Committee of Adjustment. In the democracy that we live in, I would submit that how we do things matters as much as what we do. And in that spirit, I would ask that you reject the consideration of the application here in this committee and send it to a full development process, which is frankly what it is. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm the last. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Michael Lindsay. I live at 50 Fox Bar Road, and I'm speaking on behalf of Deer Park Residents Group regarding this application, and we appreciate the opportunity to speak today. Our concern is not simply about variances themselves, but about the limited amount of information available to the community at this stage of the process. This proposal occupies a highly prominent and sensitive site at the gateway to Deer Park, adjacent to an established neighborhood and directly connected to an important public transit node. In our letter, we set out several factors in the application which do not appear to be minor. This is a substantial building being proposed on Yonge Street in a location that affects many residents. I understand there was some technical issue with our submission getting into the review package, so please let me know if there are any questions about our letter. Given the significance of the location, we believe this application warrants more comprehensive and transparent planning discussion than is typical for a minor variance process. The materials submitted by the applicant leave many important questions unanswered, including the ultimate scale and massing of the development, its relationship to surrounding public realm, pedestrian impacts, servicing and loading considerations, and how future phases of the proposal may evolve over time. Choice met with a few members of our board, and we appreciated this. However, we were left unclear about many important details of this development. We recognize that the redevelopment of this site is inevitable, and we are not here to oppose redevelopment in principle. We also recognize the potential value of a cultural, community-serving uses as part of a mixed-use project. However, meaningful consultation requires enough information for residents and stakeholders to properly understand what is being contemplated. Our request today is therefore modest and constructive. We ask the committee to refuse or defer this application as premature without clear overall planning framework for the site, and additional information and community engagement can occur before approvals proceed. The Deer Park community wants to work collaboratively with the applicant and city staff toward an outcome that respects both the importance of this site and the surrounding neighborhood context. We believe that early transparency and open dialogue will ultimately lead to a better project and a more positive relationship between the applicant and the community going forward. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, sir.
Do you have any questions?
Any questions for the speaker? No, thank you very much, sir. All right, is there anyone else here who wishes to speak today? Nope, okay, thank you. And we have some folks online?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. We have the first person from 714 10 Delisle Avenue. Joyce, you're unmuted.
Hi, is it Rose?
I'm going to, through you, Mr. Chair, I'm going to try calling Joyce. Joyce, you're unmuted.
Or Louise? Joyce. Joyce Chow?
Hi, sorry. I'm actually just here as an observer, so.
Okay, thanks very much. Anything you want to say?
I do agree that there needs to be more review done, given all the factors that have been suggested. So I also feel that it needs to be deferred until those questions have been answered.
Thank you. We have one more speaker.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to unmute the resident at 10 Delisle Avenue, 603.
No, I'm just here as an observer. Thank
you. Okay, that's all the speakers.
Is there actually someone online?
Yes, but no, they've just logged off.
Okay. All right. Okay, Mr. Bronskill. Welcome back, sir. I know you've got a number of responses that you would like to make. I'm just going to, because I did put this question to council, and I indicated that I put the same question to you. And it's really, have you or your client or any of the consultants had any discussion with city staff, particularly with respect to the site-specific zoning that's in play right now and the board decision?
Yes, we have.
And the conclusion of that discussion has been?
Variances that are before you through the zoning review from the buildings department.
Okay. So your contention is that the board was decision was specific to the building, not the property site.
I'm going to phrase it slightly differently, Mr. Chair. The zoning, we're seeking variances, and we have to look at the zoning provisions in terms of what we may or may not be varying. The decision and the staff report, I'm going to suggest, are sometimes helpful in trying to maybe understand what the intent of that zoning provision was. And that's where I actually, when I saw the correspondence, went back and found the 1999 decision, and then went online and dug around and found the staff report from the City of Toronto, actually authored by Greg Byrne, who I'd worked with, and then interestingly, counsel on the file in 1999 are now both largely retired, Cynthia McDougall and Stephen Bradley from 1999. So it was a real interesting trip back in time. They inform the intent, but the bylaw is the bylaw. And those are the discussions that we've been having with the zoning examiner. Like I said to you earlier, the decision does not speak to the height of a future building on this site being restricted to the height of the existing building. The staff report that supported the settlement, and it's a public staff report, did not indicate that the height provisions in the bylaw were intended to apply to more than the existing building. And when I actually read the bylaw, sir, and this is, I'm going to for a moment indicate why I'm right and why the zoning examiner I think is right, the height of the mixed-use building other than the existing building shall not exceed the height limits shown on map 3. They carved out the existing building and then had a specific provision for the height of the existing building. The height of the existing building shall not exceed the height limits shown on map 3. So this bylaw governs two things: the height of the mixed-use building, which is defined, which is the other aspects of the development, and it governs the height of the existing building as modified. It doesn't govern a future building. So put it quite bluntly, if we just demolish Delisle Court, it could be a 30-meter, 9 to 10-story building on these lands, which is commensurate with the fact that this is Yonge Street, just north of one of the major subway stations intersecting with the St. Clair right-of-way. And there might, in fact, be a rezoning application at that time for something more than a mid-rise building. But that's the provisions of the bylaw. And that's why the zoning examiner determined that that's the way to govern this. We would have a different set of variances if that's the approach. We've also spoken to planning staff. Excuse me, sir. We've also spoken to planning staff, and the committee can note there's no memo here because they're not recommending any conditions, and they don't have any objections with the proposal.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Dylan.
But you have to admit that this is a bit unusual to apply zoning to a specific building as opposed to a site. And you have obviously dug into the background to this. Can you explain why this would have decided to apply to a specific building as opposed to the site? Like what was the unusual situation that they decided they needed to apply a height restriction to a building that already exists, which is in itself a little unusual, as opposed to the site itself? Like there must be some background to that, and you've read the staff report. Perhaps you can illuminate that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I didn't find anything in the staff report. I didn't find anything in the OMB decision. I acknowledge it's unusual, if not rare, to find a zoning bylaw drafted in a way that limits the height of the existing building. And it may have been that they didn't want additional stories on that existing building as it sits today. I don't know. I would be speculating. What I can add to the discussion is through 569
2013 through the harmonized zoning bylaw process, and over the last 27 years as the city has looked at zoning in the city, the underlying zoning, because through you, Mr. Chair, if we go back to the variances that we're seeking, so if you accept the conclusion of the city zoning examiner that the demolition of the building means that the height restriction on the existing building does not apply, and there's no height restriction therefore in that bylaw, one of two things happens. There's no height restriction in the bylaw, which cannot be the outcome. So what do? You go to 569/2013 because that's the underlying bylaw. That underlying bylaw has the 30-meter height restriction in it. And if, in its infinite wisdom, City Council had intended that a new building would not have an as-of-right permitted height of 30 meters, when this bylaw, when 569/2013 went through, they could have, in fact, said the height on this stretch of Yonge Street isn't our development standard set one height. It's not the angular plane. It's not those setbacks. It's something different. They didn't. And again, I can't speculate why they didn't do that 13 years ago, but they didn't. So I'm left with a zoning provision that restricts the height of the existing building, and if that building's demolished, I have a zoning regime that essentially allows an as-of-right mid-rise building. That's what I know under the zoning bylaw.
Okay. All right. I'm going to reset the clock for you and give you 5 minutes to respond. There's a lot to respond to.
Yeah, some of the response, I think I've dealt through those helpful questions. I was going to indicate to the committee, Mr. Chair, that there has been no silence from staff, contrary to what my friend Mr. Cook said to you. The answer from staff to his questions, in fact, was given to his client and is on the words of the page in the zoning review. So staff aren't silent on this question of how to interpret the bylaw. In fact, they're very clear. And I think his response to you is fair. His client has asked for them to reconsider, and they have declined to do so, and have indicated that the review that's in the zoning review is their review of the bylaw. So no mistakes have been made on this. And as I noted to you, staff are supportive. I mean, one thing I could offer up to the committee in response to this is, and if staff don't mind going through a few pages to the slide that shows variances 3, 4, 6, and 7. In the history of this development, there's not only zoning provisions in place, but there's a reciprocal agreement. And I recognize that that reciprocal agreement is not something that's within the purview of this committee, but it does mandate 10 meters of separation between the east face of 10 Delisle and any building that's on my client's lands. That's what we're showing there in that rectangle. That's a mandated legal, but not mandated zoning spatial separation, and we are respecting that through this proposal. One thing I could offer up, because, Mr. Chair, the zoning does permit 30 meters. The height of this structure is 24 and change. If there's a concern that this is going to grow from what we've shown, I would be happy to accept a condition on the variances that in fact would restrict the as-of-right height to 25 meters. So let's in fact cut this down so that it won't grow any taller to the east of 10 Delisle Avenue, if that's something the committee wanted to consider. Another condition, Mr. Chair, through you, that we'd be happy to impose is, given that there is that spatial separation that we need to achieve, and given that we are seeking variances to a bylaw provision that requires a west setback of at least 3 meters, and we're taking it down to 0. But as I indicated to you, it's only in that area where there's a height of 10.05 meters. I'd be willing to restrict that 0 meter setback to a height of 10.05 meters to ensure that anything within that area that is secured through a spatial separation is not only protected by the reciprocal agreement, but would be protected by a condition on the variances. Normally, Mr. Chair, I might offer up a condition about being substantially in accordance with the plans, but given that this still has to go through site plan, I am a little bit nervous about that. There may be refinements through the design to certain aspects of this as we go through the site plan process with city staff, but those two conditions I think might establish the same thing, which is we're not going to get any taller. That 10.05 meter piece that's at 0 won't grow, and no portion of the building from a zoning perspective could impact that spatial separation. And so that area between the buildings would remain free and clear, both by virtue of an agreement and by virtue of condition. So I wanted to put those on the table for the committee's consideration, should they see fit to want to approve the variances. Mr. Chair, the last thing I would honestly say to you in terms of responses, I understand the concern about the change. I understand about impacts on view. I also understand there is no right to review. And my response, Mr. Chair, is where I started with all of this. There is no height variance. There is no density variance. There are no parking variances. And so while I can appreciate a concern that something on Yonge Street is going to be taller than the existing building and impact an existing view, but that is in fact an as-of-right permission today. And so the best I can do is offer up those conditions to try and mitigate that, so it's what we're showing here is in fact implemented. But a concern about views to the east, that's a concern with the existing zoning in 569/2013, and that's why those variances aren't before this panel. So, Mr. Chair, though, I know that you may have additional questions of me, but those are my responses in reply.
Okay, thank you. Panel, questions? Dylan?
Yeah, there's the actual nature of this application is quite vague, and some of the people who responded brought that up. Although apparently, a little bit more information is being given in a meeting with some of the local residents, but we don't really have that. We have this sort of very vague application with like vague community spaces and a theater that's not clear. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about the vision for this space. Like, it seems to be something that is being considered as a big contribution to the city, but we really don't have any idea of what's actually being tried. Are you able to give us a bit more of a sense of what the vision is for the space and why you think it's a contribution to the neighborhood and to the city?
Absolutely. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for the city. I reject the suggestion that this is just shiny corporate nothingness. To me, this is vibrancy, this is arts, this is culture at Yonge and St. Clair, and this is going to be a destination for the city that is going to help continue to define the city as an exciting place to live in. This is an urban environment. Delisle Center is a multi-use cultural and arts venue that would include theater space, roughly around 300 and 350 seats. It's going to include eating establishments, cafes. It's going to include just under 2,000 square meters of GFA of community use. It has a place of assembly of about 3,200 square meters. There's a development program lined out for it that includes both the entertainment place of assembly, the community uses, the place of assembly, the eating establishments, to put it all together, frankly, into a vibrant destination that combines all of those uses. I actually think that's what is being proposed. That's what, frankly, is permitted. And we're seeking the variances to ensure that that type of vibrant cultural use can be implemented on this site. It's also going to be designed, frankly, with a high degree of architectural interest. That's the intent. And it's going to be a place that I think will be a standout in the community, that will bring those types of uses that will benefit not just people who might come to them, but also people in the community who might want to walk to them. I think it's no different than the Regent Theatre revitalization that I worked on. I think it's no different than theater spaces in the West Queen West Triangle that I've worked on. It's the type of use that we want to have in the city to ensure that these types of spaces can be used for community spaces, cultural spaces, music venues, performance venues. I think it's exciting and an incredible opportunity.
When you say community uses, what kind of things are you thinking of? Give us some kind of sense of what you're seeing.
It could be a wide variety of community uses. It could be space that's used by community organizations. Some of that programming will be fleshed out. It could be homes, sorry, not residential homes. When I use homes, I mean that colloquially. I mean that as a home space for those types of community uses that are associated with arts and cultural venues that might...
would it sometimes be like freely available or available at a low cost? Or is there like a plan to create that kind of ability?
I don't want to mislead you. I can't commit on the record that it would be free or at no cost. Some of those details will get hammered out as actual tenants come into it. But there would be opportunities to work with those different types of community groups that would come into a space like this and help animate it. Some of those details would have to be worked out as the programming is done. It would be no different in that case than the fantastic facility along Dundas east of Parliament in Regent Park, which has been an incredible cultural asset to Regent Park. These are the types of spaces that are all over the city and are incredible assets within their communities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, from my perspective, a few comments. I just want to build on, I think, your response to this most previous question from Dylan. The one we haven't really talked about, the variance, is number one, which is the going from 400 square meters to 4,000 square meters. Maybe you could just speak. I'm presuming your answer is going to be that there is a broader range of commercial activities will be permitted in here that are restricted, I guess, in the current profile.
Yeah.
So, but it's a fairly significant change. So, what's the construct of the current building? It's got to be more than 400, but I presume it's institutional and other types of uses. So, just can you hum a couple bars about the difference between those two numbers?
It's an interesting provision because it's got two components to it. One, it applies to a lot, and then that lot has to be within 6.1 meters of a residential zone category. What's interesting here is this is, if you look at sort of the stretch of the block, we essentially have a lot consolidation here, which means we have one lot, which means we only get the 400 square meters under the existing zoning. If we were individual lots, we would get 400 square meters on each lot.
Oh.
If we were individual lots. It applies to each lot within 6.1. It just happens, and I acknowledge this, we are one lot, we're a big lot. And so that zoning provision on that big lot would restrict us to 400 square meters. It just so happens that if you divide them up, you might have 400 square meters on each lot. Ultimately then, that 4,000 square meters in the context of the block doesn't become as big a number because you're thinking about how 400 square meters might be on each lot combined instead over all of the lots. And that's part of the way that I've envisioned it in my head is that number jumps because of the amount of land that's associated with this, because otherwise, because we're one lot, we'd only have 400.
Right. Okay, I understand that. That makes sense. You offered up a couple of conditions, and I just want to understand what you're offering rather than, as you pointed out, a standard condition might be tying it to elevations. Yeah. And that's usually because that locks down the height. Yes. So you've indicated, I guess at the north end, 25 meters, at the south end, 10 meters. Is that roughly what you're talking about?
Yeah.
How do you control the intervening space?
So what I'm suggesting two pieces, and you often see that condition on single family homes because we don't have the benefit of site plan control. And so if we want to lock down particular window locations and building placement, that condition is one way of doing that absent site plan control. I acknowledge it does fulfill other functions too. It might limit how we deploy density that's been achieved through variances in a manner that's consistent with the plans that are in front of the committee. I think that's another way of doing it. The conditions that I was suggesting was, one, I keep saying we have an as-of-right height of 30 meters. And so I don't want to leave here today with anyone thinking that beyond the height that we've shown, which steps up to 24 meters, that this would morph through the site plan process to increase in height, because we could. We could under the zoning, because we've got a height permission up to 30 meters. So what I'm suggesting is instead, any development would have a maximum height of 25 meters, and that caps our height. That's roughly the tallest point of the structure today. I recognize that it cascades, but that would stop us from going any taller than what we've shown today.
How would we lock down like midpoint of your development? Right now, it's showing, it transfers down a little bit in height. With that condition, how would we prevent, for example, a revision that would have a 24 meters midpoint in your application?
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I may make a suggestion. If the committee is to approve this, you could approve tying to the north and south elevations, and the terminology in that condition would be as it pertains only to building heights, angular plane, and spatial separation restriction. That way you've locked in those three major aspects that the residents do have concerns with.
Yeah.
I would be fine with that too.
What I'm thinking about, Dave, in a very puerile sense is, those residents who currently aren't affected in the middle there, how do we assure them that there isn't going to be a different building than what we see before us in front of them?
And it would prevent us from, for lack of a better description too, sliding the taller element further south.
That's my point. Yeah, that's my point.
Or expanding it too.
Yeah.
So I would be fine with that condition, because that would still give us some flexibility. And Mr. Chair, it would also help us with the second condition that I had recommended to the committee, which is to ensure that the west 0 meter setback we're requesting only applies to the 10.05 meters, so that it's not only the heights, but if you also think about the north and south elevations, there is an agreement that prevents us from moving the west wall further west, but that's not a buildings matter, that's not a zoning matter. So a condition that stops the 0 meter setback at a height of 10.05 meters stops my west wall above 10.05 meters from coming any closer to the property line. I also think, through you, Mr. Chair, that the conditions as helpfully suggested by the Deputy Secretary Treasurer would also accomplish that goal. I want that 10 meters that we're showing is spatial separation. If the committee sees fit to approve these variances, I want to ensure that we're securing that as well. Okay.
A couple people talked about, so I thought I saw a reference to rooftop or outdoor kind of amenities. So we haven't talked about that. So what are you contemplating there?
I'm trying to find the best. If you see on the plan in the presentation that shows requested variances, where we laid out all 8 of the variances with numbers, you'll see, and again, I'm color challenged, in the lighter, there's 3 shades of salmon. One shows low sloped roof on the far right near the number 8. If you go by the number 1, you can see outdoor terrace, and it would be roughly 230 square meters. The exact extent of it will be finalized. It's intended to have architectural screening on the west face to ensure privacy protection. The exact square footage of it hasn't been finalized, but that's roughly the size of it in that location. And it would have receptions, it might have gathering. That would be the intent of that space there.
But to assure the residents that it wouldn't involve, a musical kind of thing where, a couple people have raised the issue of noise and light, light issues. So I'm trying to kind of get at how do we manage that in a way that is sympathetic to or sensitive to the residents next door.
Yeah, it's not intended for outdoor musical concerts or anything of that nature. I don't know what else to say other than that. It would intended to be outdoor catered space on some of the nights that we've had.
Sometimes we get amplified music. There is a noise bylaw in the City of Toronto, but is there? Would you be okay with some sort of condition about limitations on amplified noise outside?
I think I'm going to give you two answers, Mr. Chair, and the first answer is with a bit of a wry smile, and I apologize. I think at this stage, my client would prefer not to have that condition because I think they are still exploring what they ultimately would want to do in that space long term. That being said, Mr. Chair, given the concerns identified, that was the piece with the wry smile that I might get in trouble for what I'm about to say next. Given the concerns identified and given your concern, I would accept that as a reasonable condition should the committee see fit to grant these variances.
Right, and the standard is 11 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What about light? I can get that. You've got residents that are on a wall of people and, sometimes projected light all night is a problem. So what would you suggest there?
I don't know that I can do that through a condition, sir, to be blunt. I know that will be resolved through site plan. The intention is to have a balance on the west face between architectural interest, but not having sources of light, having light view privacy impacts. Right. So that west elevation long term will be designed and finalized through the site plan approval process to ensure that. There isn't a vision of having extensive glazing and glass there. It's certainly not, though, as some have suggested, going to be a big ugly brick wall. That's not the intention either. I don't know that I could give you a condition today with certainty that would be enforceable to address that, other than saying that will be resolved through the site plan approval process.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, they'll have to submit a lighting plan.
Okay.
And that lighting plan can also be part of their NOAC.
Okay.
To secure those measures.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. What I'm trying to do, Mr. Bronsko, obviously is, there's a lot of concern from the residents. I'm trying to give them some assurance that, your client is going to be sympathetic to some of the concerns that they have raised. And it sounds like through you, they would be.
They would be. They're here listening as well, Mr. Chair. And this interface issue would be there whether it was this building or a more prototypical residential mid-rise building where you might have windows and balconies facing each other. So I think this spatial relationship is important. We've heard the concern, and I don't think the intention is to have that on the west face, but it's certainly something we'll resolve through site plan.
All right, those are my questions. Panel, any further questions? No, thank you, Mr.
Thank you for the
Bronsko.
opportunity.
All right, let's go into committee. Anyone want to start us off? Dylan?
I can start. Yeah, I guess the first thing is I'm not convinced by this bylaw interpretation. I take the point of the first deputant. I'm not a lawyer, I can't decide on it. But I feel like that needs to be resolved in more detail with experts. And as we know, if we approve this, there's not really any appeal. So my feeling is that this needs to be rejected, knowing that it will be appealed to TLAB, and that at TLAB, really, these issues can be hashed out in a lot more detail than just a 5-minute presentation, and with a lot more, skilled, skilled and experienced experts discussing it. I don't feel like I have the result, but it seems very strange to me to have a zoning bylaw that applies to a building as opposed to a location. And it's also very clear to me that this was originally designed as an integrated development, right? Like the access thing is integrated between the two buildings. Clearly, 10 Delisle was built with the expectation that people would have, not a blank wall 10 feet 10 meters in front of them. So, maybe when it gets hashed out, that would be decided. This is this unusual case, but I don't feel like I can make that decision. I feel like there is a strong argument against it. Zoning is the staff is staff, but we've seen them, as the deputant said, make mistakes, or it's a complicated. It's a matter of interpretation. So that's my first thing, is that if it might be different if I knew that the residents of Tyndall could appeal, but they can't appeal. So for this to be hashed out, the only way to do that is to reject these things, and knowing that it will undoubtedly be appealed to TLAB, and TLAB can then go forward. My other thing is variance 1. So to me, variance 1 is quite clearly designed to ensure that there is not a large entertainment venue right beside a residential area. Yes, if it was 10 small things, you could have 10 small restaurants, but that's very different from a large active venue. And also as well, it's clear to me that the current use is actually something that's actually very valuable to the local residents. That really should be, I would say, retail space. It's heavily used as retail space. Small retail space is, very valuable. It's clearly heavily used that way, as opposed to, maybe there's a small cafe, but otherwise it's going to be a big, one big face. And so there's a question of whether it is, in fact, a desirable use of that particular location. So because that's a very large variance, so it's not that minor, and because I'm not really convinced that it is the desirable use of that location, and I'm not really sure that the zoning, I feel like the zoning, in a sense, is saying this is not a place where we should have a large single-use entertainment venue. So for those reasons, that's three of our 4 reasons. I can't support this, and I think it should go to TLAB. I know that there will be a big discussion there, and I feel that that's the appropriate place to sort something that's this significant and big out.
Okay, thank you. Who else?
I'll jump in with some thoughts. Thank you for all of that, Dylan. So yeah, on the one hand, I see the merits of this application as an exciting opportunity. Supporting the arts and cultural spaces, I think, is really critical in Toronto right now. We definitely have a shortage of mid-sized venues in the city. So in that sense, I think that this is, as I said, an exciting opportunity. I'm very aware that it's within as of right massing. The angular plane impact is very, very minor. But then on the other hand, as Dylan has already said, variance 1, I think it goes too far. I don't think it's supportable. And then combined with the confusion about the bylaw interpretation, I just don't think we quite have the information that we need today to make a decision that has so many impacts on so many people. I also feel like there's a bit of a shortage of clarity around how the space is going to break down and what its actual vision is. And I think that needs to be fleshed out a little bit more before I could support it.
Okay. Gary?
Yes, thanks. I'm kind of disappointed that we don't have a community planning report specifically on this particular application. I've checked the supplementary agenda and I don't see one. I've been really struggling with the test of minor. We've got some disagreement here about the what's the appropriate height performance standard. I think for me, I would hate to say that I'd be turned down so you go to the TLAB, but I think that it's almost sort of beyond what committee can handle and make a decision on. So on the basis that I'm saying it's not meeting the minor test, I would have to vote against it.
Okay, sounds like we have a consensus, but I will throw in my 2 cents worth in just because I get to. I understand the concern, and I have a couple of observations. One, I was actually quite struck by the as-of-right permissions for this site. You know, it basically would allow for a 30-meter tall structure that goes from Heath all the way down to Delisle. That would, I think, be even more difficult for a lot more people who live in the Delisle complex. So having it the height step down as you go from north to south, I think is an attractive element to the redevelopment of this site. And, you know, notwithstanding the fact that there are uses that are popular in this site, that's not to say that the uses that would be part of a new development wouldn't be either equally popular or popular in a very different way. I'm also struck by, I did raise the question with the agent about variance number 1, because it just does seem so stark. But I was actually convinced by the argument back that, you know, this being, if it's been assembled, right? Presumably there are 10 or more lots there now that have been assembled by the current ownership structure. So I was struck by the fact that 400 square meters is an allowable amount per lot, and that, you know, imposing that on a lot of this size would be unduly restrictive. So I accept that variance is an anomaly, and while on the surface of it, it doesn't seem minor, I accept that it's an anomaly and it's a function of the lot structure for that site. All the other variances before us, you know, as a committee are really quite minor. They, you know, cumulatively and individually are quite minor. So I, as a committee, when I look at the variances themselves, I'm hard pressed to see those as being major. There is admittedly going to be an impact on some of the residents of Delisle, but, you know, compared to what it could be if an as-of-right building went up here without any variances or with similarly modest variances, I think the impact could actually be quite more dramatic. So even though folks are concerned about this, like all things in life, you know, frankly, it could be worse. And it's not. So I understand your concern, and the point about a path to T-Lab, that's a legitimate path, and it provides an opportunity for more fulsome, particularly between councils. But the fact that city staff have not provided, I share your disappointment on this one, Gary. It would have been helpful to have some city staff input. But our experience on this committee has been that when city staff have a significant or major issue, they do provide us with commentary. So in the absence of that, I can only surmise that city staff don't have any problems with this application, and the fact that the zoning examiner has presumably contemplated what the elements of the current zoning are on it, and as reflected in the OMB hearing, that the variances before us reflect that assessment by the zoning examiner. So I don't have anything to suggest that there is a different interpretation. The interpretation before us is, I think, informed by the fact that city staff have not weighed in on this one to the negative. So, and I did, we did push the agent. I think there are some conditions in here which I think would make this proposal a little more attractive, or perhaps the wrong way of doing it, a little less offensive to the neighbors in Delisle. But I will come back to the variances, and the variances are really quite minor for this development, for a development of this size. So I will be taking a contrary position to you folks for those reasons. But it is what it is, so I'll look for someone for a motion.
I'll make a motion to refuse these variances.
Okay, motion by Mr. Reid to refuse. Do I have a seconder?
You do.
Mr. McKay, all in favor? Opposed? The application is refused. And with that, that concludes today's hearing. We are adjourned at 5:55. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, guys. Hope
Thank
you
you,
guys
Chair.
are feeling better.